You said it was MMO and quarterly?
Yeah. So there's a couple different files, 2023. I mean, if you want to open it, you can. And then down to October. Attached. And then I'll do the selected counties PowerPoint. Okay, yeah.
This computer can be, it's slow to set up, but then once you get in there,
it's fine. And they're kind of big PowerPoints, and they have embedded spreadsheets, so
okay.
it takes longer to.
And then Q3?
Yeah. Detached. And there's one that's called training. That's what I'm going to use today because it's the most updated one. And then I'm going to send that to you because it's one that'll need to be sent out.
Okay.
Because it's a slightly different version of what they already have.
Right.
It's just updated. So today they're going to see some of this.
Okay.
And then just might look at the other ones too that are part of that. So just go back to that folder, the 3Q. Yeah. And then there's a luxury version for 2023. Yep. The toolkit. Those are all the files that I'll go through now. So I'll start with the training one. Yep. Will the Zoomers see the?
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen.
That screen.
Yeah.
So if I go in and do, sometimes I'll show them how to do the interactive charts. If I go in and do the interactive charts, I have to pull it out of presentation mode.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But they'll still be able to see.
Yeah, because I have it with the whole screen instead of just like one tab.
Okay.
So they'll see like whatever here.
Okay.
So whatever the screen.
All right, perfect. That'll work. Hello, hello.
Hello. Jeremy?
Yes, I am.
How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm Bob Baker.
Hey, Bob.
Good to finally meet you in person.
Yeah.
Anybody help?
Well, just
thanks for being here.
CG, you're the one that makes sure everybody's compliant.
I worked at it pretty hard. And they do a good job. They're very cooperative.
Good.
Yeah, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, I see your name on some things here and there. So
Yeah, you will. Yeah, especially, oh no, I.
Oh, no.
Every once in a while, I go to the principal's office.
Yeah. We're looking forward to this.
Oh, well, thank you, Bob. I am too. Stuff is getting out there, I tell you.
It's a wacky real estate market.
Isn't it?
Wacky.
When did it start? I mean, I guess just COVID, right? It's changed everything, changed our entire world.
It did. It probably accelerated some trends we were already moving forward.
Yep, you're right.
But, I was talking to my wife, and she's a retired school teacher, elementary school teacher. And we both agree that people are different today than they were in the past. And we see that in real estate.
Probably.
A lot more stress,
Yeah.
a lot more entitlements.
Excuse me.
I mean, they really are crazy. Matches. And yet we're all crazy.
Yeah, that's
We're all-
true.
I think in this world, you've got to be a little crazy as a defense mechanism just to live with the world we live in. So crazy out there.
We're so interconnected in so many ways
Oh,
that it's
Yeah.
it's a lot of instant information, and sometimes that's hard to process.
and it's an incredibly small world. I was just reading about a couple who had moved from California to the little town of Hazel up over the Fort Worth area. And as it turns out, in the subdivision that they bought in, the people across the street were also from the same town they were from in California. They had
Wow.
moved there. So here we have two people who may or may not have known each other in California, who neighbors in Texas. So it's a small world,
That it
very
is.
small world.
Okay.
So we're.
How you doing, ma'am?
I'm good. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
That way
You ready for the holidays?
Which screen?
Getting
This
there?
one?
Getting
So,
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
Whenever you do,
So
Uh-huh.
what I'll do, I'm gonna open up another one too, sorry.
Okay.
It's in the MMO file.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm hosting
You
Thanksgiving.
already remember where it was.
Are you really?
In October and detached.
A lot of
I
places.
do that
Very
selected
little time to do it.
I was excited about the announcement about some Robins.
I know, isn't that exciting? Are y'all gonna be able to go? Right.
Well, now that happened, I'm thinking maybe.
Today's the last day
I know
of that pricing, so
pricing,
you're
I
gonna
know.
try to, I do it.
Decide today,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, I think you should.
That'd be
No,
awesome.
we'll all be there.
Yeah, I love Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
He like, when
I
I
haven't
went,
heard him in person.
I
This is
haven't
my first
either. No, I've always wanted to, but it's a bit
Careful,
so
you're gonna have to come
yeah,
see
so I thought that was cool.
Miami.
Right.
I do all of these, this is great. I don't know, I'm usually trying to figure all this out, so this is
All right.
fantastic, thank you. Thanks.
I've got it well marked, so don't let anybody take my seat. Up front, back row.
He's got the escape seat.
I'll take it.
Got it.
Right,
I'll
escape
make
seat.
sure nobody gets
I always like
it.
sitting
Nobody.
here because if I go to the restaurant, I don't have to bother anybody, you know?
There you go.
On this seat, so.
There you go, then another escape seat. Jill, how are things?
Things are good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Things have been good. You know, crazy market, but.
Yep. Market Center, how's recruiting and agent growth and that kind of stuff going?
It could be better. I know, it's for people that show up at class.
Yay,
Um,
$100.
Yep.
Okay.
Only when we're healed. Yeah, I mean, growth isn't where I want it to be, but.
Right. Well, we're seeing.
See it good.
Not as good as they used to be.
And my vision doesn't get better every year.
At local level, we're seeing it, state level, we're seeing it.
Vision over my hair. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, sometimes when I go to the restaurant in the middle of the night and it's dark.
Well,
It's
Everybody else.
such a good thing for us.
Yeah.
Taking off my glasses.
I think sometimes my wife's like, there's something she moves us around.
Yeah.
Yep. Just, yeah.
You know, better power meetings for changes. So.
I love this, you know, just.
Good.
Chartmaster.
Absolutely. I've added a couple slides you'll see today
No, God.
for the first time. We're gonna talk about affordability.
How you doing?
Hey,
We're
great,
gonna
how
get
are you?
into economic sort of stuff, but it's such a big, like.
It's like topic, yeah.
So,
Sorry, I'm in front of the camera, you know.
I know, right? I was trying to keep my big head out of there.
It's sort of a complicated chart and process to come up with. I tried to just kind of condense it all. Hi Jessica, how are you?
Great, how are you? I
to
love
see
your
you.
shirt. You look so cute.
They all kind of
I know, it's like we cleaned it.
the sheeny black sort of thing going, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I've shared it with a few folks, but it hasn't been released anywhere yet.
Okay, cool.
Sean Rawls.
Jeff, how are you?
How are you?
Fabulous, thank you.
Got it, okay.
Very good, how
How's the
are you?
weather in Denver?
Good to see you.
It's very similar to that.
Somebody got to use this time.
I'm going to every class that I possibly can.
That is great. It was 70 degrees. It was when I first got here in 2015. Somebody gave me the same.
Never know.
Look, it was amazing.
Is that good?
Okay.
Whenever you
Well,
get
you
out of
can.
this one, all the other ones
Never,
are
never
stacked
miss
with
a
a little more.
big
Okay.
class.
Oh, well, you know, I'm really bummed
Is
that
there,
his contract
as far as keeping an eye on Zoomers that might have a question or anything like that,
I'm gonna be going
So,
on vacation.
where would I find that, or?
Oh, my
So,
God. Yeah.
I'm
So-
like, darn, but all.
I tend to not need to.
You'll have it.
Right,
To be honest.
Okay, be careful.
Okay, all right, so where is
But so this is, who's talking, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have it up on my computer in the front too,
Okay.
and then when Kelsey gets off the break, she'll have it up on you.
Well, you know, even yesterday,
Chat.
Whenever you go out of.
If I go out, I can look at the chat and
Yes,
see
and
if
they'll
something.
be like,
and, you know, she happened to some soccer.
but I like to have my ask you.
You know, so it was really great.
You see.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
But
I was,
yeah, they're all stacked
at
here.
this point, everything
How
was just like,
Time goes.
And then what you're gonna do is that, once you take all of this.
I'm hitting it like the, some of the main new stuff is like right off the bat.
Yeah.
So I don't, goodness, that's too much.
These two sources of lead.
Few more minutes.
Yeah, it's up to you. I would say that.
That's another two.
I'm gonna put this one up for
Two weeks to start.
present and then.
Yeah. All right, so let me see.
I'll keep this.
Next.
hi.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, because the thing that we want people to
I just
do
looked
is.
at my shirt because I wrapped it back on my back.
You know, that's what you
Is it her?
get you to. Because if you're making money, you can kind of just.
Oh,
yeah.
And all that.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, just go here at the bottom.
Okay, you know, when you started, did you have a large sphere?
Yes,
Yeah, see, I have a really small
Yes.
sphere.
I did, but no one.
Yeah, I think it just wouldn't, doesn't do it when you're.
Yeah, when you click on like the Zoom or anything, that's what I'm saying, you have to like
Good thing.
mess with the Zoom or anything else, you have to click in here.
A little busy.
I think it's fine down there unless,
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna bother anybody.
Yeah, because what I know.
Okay.
Let me know if you need it, I'll have it on my computer. It's nice to meet you.
Me too. Did you go by Caitlin or Caitlin? I have a Caitlin behind.
Kaylin, so it's like Kaylin.
Could have got it 6.9.
Caitlin. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You did it yesterday?
Did you sneak in?
Some Sour Patch Kids? Would you like one?
I can go on to my national.
I had my fill of gummies already this morning.
Just what you need before you start talking. We all puckered up.
Bunch of
Oh,
sugar.
I left my water out there.
All of the stuff.
Oh, here, back.
And as long as they've kept their info updated, literally I have their name, their address, their email, and their phone number. Ari has, Ari.
10 people zooming in today. All right.
Good.
Uh-huh.
Which is part of the MLS.
How many are in
Which
June?
is what,
10?
Ten?
the girl with farmings, yeah.
What do they get? They get $2 bills?
They get nothing.
Yes.
Oh.
It's to show up.
I.
$100 if you're here, $2 if you're not. And then she says nothing.
No.
And the pajamas.
Yeah, they get to sit and watch it in their pajamas at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Hopefully that's not what you're doing if you're watching. Unless you're a little under the weather, then that's okay. It's allowed. I'm gonna give it a couple minutes because I understand that maybe realtors here are like realtors everywhere and they tend to be just a few minutes late coming in, which sucks for everybody that's here on time, and I'm sorry. However, I've got a few new charts that you have never seen.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, and it's front loaded, so we're gonna start with that.
Okay, good.
So I want to make sure you have it, and we give them a couple minutes, and then you're gonna have it, and whoever shows up here afterwards is not until
Yeah, I mean, like.
they
Until
get it.
I know Brad's coming. Let's see where he's at.
Okay.
So you're not here today?
He's in Austin.
Austin.
Yes, his granddaughter's doing intensive physical therapy session. Yeah, so they're down there helping.
Okay.
They're meeting. Yeah, good. Parking lot.
Cool.
I would think that you do this a little bit.
Yes.
You look at that and you say, okay, this person I knew of, we spoke, we had a through action. I'm gonna go home. This person.
See what happens.
No, which is part of this life.
They're messing with one
And I guarantee you it's on our cameras in the back, he's probably already looked at it.
And then,
Thank you.
once you keep track of that,
Bye-bye.
the people that you call, you're gonna follow up. You're gonna say,
just thought it was.
hey, this is Stephen so-and-so. We were in a sorority together at such a college. I left you a voicemail yesterday. It was, or you can do it via, I said, I left you a voicemail the other day. You kind of reintroduced myself.
It's like a helium ball.
Uh-huh.
I went to natural grocers. I got some little chewable like fruits that are
Message.
it's gotta be the sugar. Mangoes. They're really good. Man, it's so sweet. There's sugar.
So my Tom wanted as like eating type things.
These are Sour Patch Bears. I like gummy bears.
I didn't mean to.
All right, y'all, I'm gonna just go ahead and get us started, and then as people come in, you know, they'll just kind of catch us where we are. If you're gonna follow along on a computer, so if you have these pulled up, we're gonna go through a few different of the reports that y'all have. We're gonna start with our quarterly report, the selected counties metro market report. That's our quarterly third quarter report. And then we'll take a look at the quarterly area comparison report, which just takes each individual county and it sort of compares what their performance is from one county to the next. And then we'll look at the monthly for October. So that's the most recent monthly report we have. And we'll do that in October. And then we'll look over, just real quickly, we'll glance at the luxury report for those of you that are working in that arena and like to use that because it's a standalone report that you can use for just luxury properties. So those are the 4 reports we'll go over. We won't cover the condos and townhomes. I just don't have time to cover all of that stuff in a class, but basically you go through it the same way. It's just condo data, if that makes sense. So they're there. And we should wrap up here by 3 o'clock. We'll have you all out. So the first part is going to be we're going to sort of front load this with a lot of information about the listing presentation, pricing, and kind of get into it. And then we'll kind of go through some of the other stuff. And we can dive a little bit deeper into some of the data, but I'm not going to go through every single page of all of the charts, if that makes sense. We just don't have time to cover.
What's the tab?
What's the tab?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. I have to see it. It's under quick links and then market center forms and documents.
And it is the version that you're going to be if you have it pulled up, it's going to be slightly different than what you're seeing today. So you can follow along if you want. You can make notes. I'm going to encourage you to maybe write some notes down and then go back to your presentation and adjust your presentation or the charts that you choose to separately. So, but that's the reports. Just remember, all of these reports are built for you, and right now, only for you. There are some other market centers that are likely going to come online in the Dallas metro area, but right now it's just you, and it'll always be only Keller Williams. So what that means is this stuff is sort of proprietary. Is that right? Somebody say that for me.
Proprietary.
There you go. Thank you. For you, and use it to your advantage. You can speak to that when you're in a listing conversation. We have a statistician that has been hired by us to really look at the data and help us analyze what's going on in the marketplace and provide you with real life information and data that you can use to make a better decision on what you're going to do moving forward with selling your home or buying a home. You can use these charts anywhere you want to use them. You can use them in marketing. You can use social media, however you want to do it, postcards if you're still sending those out or whatever. We encourage you to use those. Every now and then I'll get a request like, hey, can I use this slide to send to this? I'm like, it's totally fine. What I would not do is just kind of copy this thing and paste the whole thing on any one site anywhere. It's too much information for people to get. And not only that, you're just sort of giving away your secret sauce, if that makes sense. So show people when they need to understand it. But in the meantime, give them some bits and pieces that'll help you in marketing. So you're welcome to use it. The data is pulled from, the MLS here in Dallas. And we try to do it as timely as we can. However, there's always a little bit of a lag with sales that get reported into the MLS. So this data changes a little bit as the quarter goes on and as the next quarter begins. If we get into October, September numbers will be different and the third quarter numbers will be different than what I'm reporting now, because this was taken, back in time. So the stuff's been updated a little bit, particularly the sales come in. We try to download sales at least a few days into the following month or quarter, just to try to capture as many of those as they can. But they do still change a little bit. So just know it's kind of a live, report. It does change as time goes on. So table of contents, each one of our reports, or most of them, will have a table of contents. So you can kind of navigate through each one of these reports just by clicking on a link. Whether it's market share, affordability, that's the new one that you haven't seen before. So we're going to talk about what that is. It's going to break down prices, interest rates, income, monthly mortgage payments, along with the payment to income ratio and what NAR has designated as an affordability line, or whatever you want to call it, like a baseline. So we'll talk about that. The keys, market statistics, first 30 days in the summary. That's where we're going to spend the bulk of our time today, is going over those 4 or 5 things. And then we'll talk about the interactive charts, a little bit of new construction, because new construction is a factor into some of our data. So sometimes it's good to pull that out, particularly if you're working in an area that's got a lot of new construction that you're going to be competing with. Sometimes you want to make sure that you're talking about resale versus resale to help guide a seller in that way, if it makes sense. But you'll know that better than I do. And then just some trends, we may have time to glance over that in quarterly comparisons. So market share, I always start with this. And I got a question for you. How many people use market share or talk about the Keller Williams market share in your listing presentation? So almost everybody. What do you say? And do you use this? Do you use this chart, or you've got something else? I'm assuming you're kind of using this one, but what? Give me some examples of how you talk about it.
You have to add up Coldwell Banker and EXP together to do what we do.
Okay, that's good. You have to add up Coldwell Banker and EXP to do what we do. How many companies do you see on that list? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, right? And sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. It depends on the names, just because people have their interest in certain names. But you notice it goes from 10% down to 2.2%, and it keeps dropping after that. I will tell you this, there are thousands of real estate companies in Atlanta that are in that data, and you're just seeing the top. That means that the majority of, there's just 1 and 2 agent places all over the place. A lot of choices out there. And the reason I bring this up, and Jill and I were talking about this a little bit, is that this is your opportunity to gain more market share. People are going to get out of the business. They are getting out of the business as we speak. Somebody's deciding right now, I'm done. I'm not going to sell real estate anymore. I'm tired of this. I'm going to do it too long. Or I thought about it, but I don't think this is the right time. Because it's getting tougher, is it not? It's getting tough. Everybody here. That was a pretty quick agreement. It's getting a little tougher to do this. Now, I will say this. If you're successful, you're making money, right? Because prices are higher than they were just a few years ago. Same amount of transactions this year versus 3 years ago, you're making more money. The key is same amount of transactions, because there's not as many. However, as agents get out of the business, there'll be more opportunity for you to capture more market share. And I just kind of want you to be thinking about that. stay with it, keep fighting, keep learning, keep growing, get out there, make appointments, have confidence that what you have, the knowledge that you have is worth sharing and somebody will benefit from that. So that's kind of it. Speaking of knowledge, we all kind of know knowledge is power, or at least that's been said. Orlando Aloysius, I like that name, Aloysius. Say it, Aloysius. I don't know. Aloysius Batista, so he's a chemist and a writer. He says, knowledge is power, especially when hitched to a workhorse. Meaning, you kind of got to do something with it. It's only powerful if you're going to use it, in my opinion, and that's what he said too. So most agents know what's happening in the market. They can kind of sense it, they kind of know it, they see, they know what's going on. Good agents understand what's going on, right? There's a difference between knowing and kind of really understanding or grasping what's going on. And then great agents can explain what's happening in the marketplace. And that's why you're here, or I don't think I have anybody chatting yet, or with the 11 people that are in their pajamas at home, driving in their car, or wherever they're Zooming from. That's what you're wanting to do, is gain the information, have the knowledge, and then really be able to explain it. And that's what we're talking about this morning. So we're going to start with affordability. And this is kind of the new part. That other slide was a little bit new too. You haven't seen that before. But affordability is something that we're hearing more and more about. And it's a lot of what you hear in the headlines tends to be national data, national information about affordability. These charts will go out to you, by the way, so you'll have all this as soon as we're done. And Kaylin just loads it, or whoever is going to load it for y'all, you'll have access to these slides as well. But the National Association of Realtors shares with us that an affordability index of 25%, anything below that is considered affordable, an affordable housing market. Anything above 25% becomes less affordable, according to the National Association of Realtors. So that's kind of the line that they've kind of determined is where affordability falls. So we use that as we move forward. We're going to kind of track that number a little bit. Oh yeah, I get it. And affordability is made up of 3 parts: income, interest rates, and prices. Income, interest rate, and prices. Make sense so far? Everybody following along? We're good, right? So here we go. Now it's going to get a little confusing. So what we're going to do, I want you to look at this chart one piece at a time. It's a little easier because there's a lot of things going on. The first thing we're going to talk about, do I have a pointer on this? No, if I do, maybe, but I'm not going to push anything because I'll probably mess it up. So we've got price, interest rate, and payment. So the first thing we're going to look at is prices. What have prices been doing since, in this case, 2018? I know this might be a little hard for you to see there, but maybe on some of the other pages you can see. So the gray bars indicate median price. So what do you see from median prices 2018 to September of 2023? You're going up, right? And you can kind of follow along the pattern. 18, seasonal up and down. 19, a little higher, seasonal up and down. Then in 20, we didn't have any seasonality after that for a couple of years. It just sort of went out the door, right? It got attached to a mask and we just didn't see it for a while. It's like our face, we just didn't see them for a while. But anyway, so that kind of adjusted in 2020, and then it really started to go up. And you see that peak to what turns out to be May of 2022 at $435,000. That was the peak for the 8 counties that we're looking at and studying. 435 in May. So then the second component is interest rate. That's the red line. So you just start to focus just on the red line. So far you got the gray bars. The red line are interest rates. So what do we know about interest rates? They're never the same. One of the things, they're always going up and down, a lot of movement. Just like everything else in real estate, there's a lot of movement. So we track the movement in interest rates. And you just kind of notice it was sort of going up until the beginning of 2019. And then they kind of started pushing rates down. Does anybody know why rates were going down from 2018 to 2020? It's not a trick question. I'm really asking the question. Does anybody know why?
Economic stimulus
Economic stimulus, certainly that came into play
coming out of the.
into 2020. But why 18 and 19? Do you remember selling real estate in 18 and 19? Can you think of a reason why rates needed to be lowered from a real estate perspective? Not really. There's some economic things going on, and so the economics really drive rates, and they're looking at things, gross domestic product. They're looking at, yes, absolutely, unemployment. So there's a lot of things that kind of go into determining what they should do with rates. But one of the things that you can also see is you follow this mortgage payment line. That's the blue line, and it tends to kind of sort of follow the red line a little bit. Mortgage payments, that's this index over on the right side. So from $0 to $500 to $1,000, all the way up to $3,000. So you can see that payment at around $2,200 a month right now, versus back in 21, January of 21, where it looks like it's about the lowest it had been in a while, was just right at $1,000 a month. So in 2 years, it's more than doubled. Okay, that tells us something. That's what we use to create the green line, which is the affordability index. Months of your income is the purple line. So you can look at that one kind of separately, and it's pretty steady. Annual income, household income. This isn't real household income. This is just what they call the median household income. So it's not, inflation's not factored into it. This is just the household income that comes in. And it kind of went down a little bit in 18, then it rose, kind of leveled out. It went down a little bit, obviously in 20, and then it's come up since then. And it's been relatively steady climbing. We had a pretty good increase. This is Texas, state of Texas numbers. It's not specific to just Dallas. It's just how they run these numbers. It's hard to pull them out for individual counties and then get it all together and aggregate it. So this is state of Texas, but it gives us a very good baseline for that. So we've taken into effect how much income somebody has, the prices that are available, the monthly payments, the interest rate, and you get the green solid line, which is the affordability line, the affordability index line. The index line, rather, is the dotted green line, which is 25%. So from 2018 to 2022, we were below 25%, very affordable time to purchase a home. When was the best time to buy a home? 5 years ago. It's always like 5 years ago, right? Because you don't know. You can't time it. I can't tell you this today. So you can look at this chart and you can say, well, the best time to buy a home was January of 2021. How many of you were selling real estate in January of 2021? Right? How many people did you tell, hey, by the way, this is the absolute bottom. You should buy right now. Did you think it was the best time to buy a house? No. You didn't, let's be honest. We didn't think that this was going to be the January of 2021. It's not that far. I mean, we were still wearing masks. We were still, right? Still sort of a weird place. But that's when affordability was at its lowest. But why was it at its lowest? Because the red line was also at its lowest. Interest rates were also at their lowest. Prices had already started coming up, but the interest rates were going down. So it kept affordability down.
That's when we were coming out of COVID, right?
We were coming out of COVID.
Last quarter of 2020.
Yep.
First, second, third quarter of 2021.
Yeah, and right then, when it hit that point, rates, you can see they started going up. And as soon as rates started going up, affordability started going up. And by January of 2022, we had moved out of an affordable time to buy a home into a less affordable time to buy a home. And just a year ago, it was like the best time that we'd seen in 5 years. Interesting. And that's all based on monthly payments, property values going up, interest rates being low, so on and so forth. So what are interest rates doing right now, today?
Going down.
Yeah.
Yeah, going down.
They're
60 basis points today.
60 today.
Oh, did it 6?
What is it now?
I'm gonna take a drink.
The market is down, we're at 7.4 right now.
Yeah, 6.75 was last week.
So what's that gonna translate to us? 6.75, 7.4, 7 and a quarter.
I like somebody just a minute ago at 7.25 with zero.
7 and a quarter. With zero?
Zero.
That's good. So what do you think that's gonna do if rates, generally speaking, if this red line starts to come down? What's that?
Last week they came down just a little bit and
Yeah.
home applications went up 2.5%.
There you go.
Yep.
I love having this. He's gonna have to come with me. Thanks. This is awesome. That's exactly right. We're seeing more applications, more interest. We know the demand is out there, right? Does anybody believe that there's no demand right now? There is demand. We just don't have inventory, which is keeping prices kind of high. Prices have come down in this market 0.05%. It's a pretty small amount.
I had an inspection done on Saturday, and the inspector goes, Joe, what's going on? What's going on in the market? What do you mean? Because the phone's ringing off. You know, people are ready to buy, scheduling an inspection. So a little change like that kind of motivated them to change their movements.
How many people have stories or were around in the 70s when interest rates were, 17 and 18%? Have you heard these stories if you weren't
I
around?
bought my first house at 14%.
So you bought a first house at 4. How did you afford 14%? What did you have to do that?
I was.
You were a millionaire or something?
No, good God, no.
She takes in laundry.
No, we had.
Take in laundry.
Yeah, I was living in Austin. I just graduated from college and $100,000 house.
So how long did you own that home?
Luckily, not long, because I got transferred. And
Then you moved to where?
from there, I moved to Chicago.
Did you buy a home in Chicago?
No, I rented while the rates were still crazy.
Right? So some people that did that. I know some people who did that. My folks did that, same thing.
I bought a house at 10%, the first house I bought.
10%. How long did you hold on to that home?
I held on to that home for about 10 years, but after I refinanced at 7 at one point, and I thought I had hit the lottery because
Right.
it had went to 7. I went from my 30-year note to a 15, and my mortgage payment only changed $50. But of course, my house didn't cost as much back then either.
No, it didn't. But after 10 years, did it go up in value?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, when I sold that house, I sold it for, the equity in it was twice what I had paid for it.
Right? So that's kind of what we need to talk about a little bit in some of these conversations about where we are with interest rates right now. And so much focus on affordability and pricing, because what are they saying right now? Is it cheaper or more expensive to rent?
More expensive.
More expensive to rent is wrong. It's cheaper to rent a home right now than it is to own one and pay a mortgage payment.
You mean on a monthly basis?
On a monthly
On a
basis.
monthly basis.
Just month to month, to rent a 3-bedroom home or townhome or apartment is going to be cheaper than it is to purchase a 3-bedroom home or townhome or apartment in the same area. Because interest rates have gone up, because prices have increased by 40 to 50% over the last few years, it's become harder and harder for a lot of people to reach. And that's just the reality. And that's not really what agents want to hear. But that's the fact that we're facing with. So your clients right now who are thinking about buying a home, first-time home buyers or whoever that's thinking about buying a home is currently renting, is looking at the rent that they're paying, which is based on maybe last year or the year before if they're lucky. And it hasn't gone up as quickly as prices have gone up. Rent hasn't escalated as quickly as interest rates have escalated. So prices going up fast, interest rates going up fast means owning a home, it's become much more expensive to do that in recent times. We just talked about $1,000 a month to $2,300 a month in 2 years.
Because your house is appreciating also.
Right, that's what I want to make sure we talk about. Your house is appreciating, and that's what we were just sharing is you've got to kind of factor that into it. Because if all you're looking at is the monthly payment, and some people, that's all they're going to look at because they don't understand this other part. This is where your ability to explain this will help you get more business. Yeah, Bob.
So in this conversation with all this, factor in the fact that the property has appreciated. What does that mean? How does that relate to our buyers, our sellers, the fact that it's appreciated? Because nothing really counts until you make use of that appreciation.
True. Yeah.
How does that factor into our conversations with our sellers and our buyers in dealing with the appreciation factor?
Well, tell me.
If you buy now, if you wait to buy until next year, that house is gonna appreciate, so it's gonna be more expensive next year if you wait 12 more months to buy it. That's one thing.
Very likely.
But what I say to my clients is, you're paying, maybe if you're 20%, you're paying $100,000 house, $20,000. And the appreciation is $100,000 become $104,000,
Yeah.
not $25,000. So when you make after 4 years, the appreciation is like house appreciation, not your money is only 25,000. And when you sell it, you're making a lot more, like 30-40% actually of your investment.
That's correct, right? Because you're leveraging the bank's money.
Yes.
And so you only have to put out 10, 20%,
Yeah.
5% sometimes, 3%.
First time home buyer.
Cash, right? Outlay.
I say zero also.
So that's a big component is understanding and being able to share, hey, you get the appreciation of the entire $350,000, but you only had to put up $9,500 or $12,000 or whatever.
And knowing that, I would say, knowing each month, that house, you're gaining equity, whereas you're renting, you're not gaining anything.
That's
If
correct.
you've shown 5 years, here you are in 5 years, look at the wealth you've created owning this house. Your rents, average rent in Plano is $3,000 right now. 5 years, that rent, you have paid $200,000 and got nothing back. But in 5 years, you have over, close to 200,000 or 100, probably 120,000 actually, in wealth that you've created. Now, if you want to take out a home, line of credit, if you want to do something, if you want to create more, you have more opportunities and more, you have something sustainable. Whereas you're renting, you don't have anything. You're making a landlord rich.
Exactly. And that time will come. Rental rates are going to go up, and people are going to see some big increases as we move into 2024, and that will change because there's just this economics. They will.
You got to refinance also.
And refinance, yeah, true. So in understanding all of this, where are some of the opportunities in the market? Where are some opportunities to get new clients?
VA is a good market because they don't pay anything, zero down, and then sometimes there are no taxes. And I see that the monthly payment is very small. Like if they rent, it's the same as their rental or less.
So VA would be an opportunity. What other opportunities are we seeing in the market?
Cash and cash buyers.
Cash is up, for sure. So there are some cash buyers out
First
there.
time.
First-time home buyers?
Builders and lenders are buying down rates.
Yep. Any other things you can think of? So here's something that's happening, it's sort of a change that we've seen over the last 4 years in the market. There's a growth in multi-generational housing. Okay, there's a growth in multi-generational housing. What does that mean? Multi-generational housing, somebody talk a little bit.
Full family units living together, like
Right?
from different
Yeah.
generations. Mhm.
Older parents, grown adult children, or whatever, some form or fashion of this multi-generational living. Why are we doing that now? Because it's needed, for one. There's a lot of boomers out there right now that are looking at, what am I going to do? Where am I going to end up in a few years? I'd like to stay in my home, but I know that I'm not really going to be able to take care of that anymore. They're thinking about a retirement community. Maybe they don't want to do that. So they're looking at options. They're exploring these options. Builders are building more multi-generational friendly housing. That's happening here and across the country, meaning master suites on both levels, casitas, attached, detached homes as part of the home. So they're giving extra living spaces, extra kitchens. Builders are building this in. So we're seeing some of that. Understand that that's coming. That could be an opportunity for you. Hispanic is also in a growing population in purchases, the fastest growing component of housing right now is in that market. And guess what? Generally speaking, there's a lot of multi-generational housing within that community, correct? So those two things go hand in hand. Those are both really good markets to make sure that you're in touch with if you're going to be in touch with the growth in our industry.
NAR says that single women buy at a much higher rate than men.
Yeah,
So
that's absolutely true.
A good market. And I think even the media, when you look at the trend lines, we all agree that the trend lines, long-term, short, doesn't matter what happens to interest rate, the values will continue to go up. And
Yes.
they go up at lesser rates, but they'll continue to go up.
Right.
So for every buyer, if there's any inventory that works for them, the time to buy is yesterday.
Yes. Thank you, Bob. It's basically where we're talking.
Support that.
Yeah, it's always yesterday. It's always 5 years ago. It's always, I wish I would have done that 3 years ago, 2 years ago, because we can see the bottom. We can say, man, that would have been great if I would have bought that. The reality is there are going to be some people who have 2.3% interest rates and they're looking at a 7.5, 3 years later. You got to figure out if that's going to work for them. All right, so you ready to move on? We feel comfortable with, generally speaking, affordability. How do you like this chart? Do you think you would be able to explain it? Do we need to, be honest with me. So if you have something that you say, hey, what if we did this, or what if we made it look a little different? Let me know, because I want you all to be able to, one, grasp it and understand it, and two, explain it, as we talked about earlier.
I have a question. Can you explain a little more? Because if I want to explain to my client the affordability, suppose he's a first-time buyer.
Yes.
So which side shall I start first?
I think we start with pricing, the gray bars.
Okay.
Start with pricing. Start with income. Depending on the first-time home buyer, their income line might look different. Most of the time, somebody who's a first-time home buyer is younger in their, their growth of their living, the monthly, how much money they're making, and they may get raises at a faster rate than what we're seeing here. This measure, by the way, for annual income, it comes out in September. And it looks at the year before. So September of 2023, they released the real numbers, if you will, for 2022. And they're estimating throughout the year of 2023 that we're in now, a 3.1% growth that is what we're expected to see. And that kind of adjusts, but they don't report it. They're just saying, it looks like it's going to be forecast. They're looking at 3.1% growth right now for annual income. So that's what I've used, 3.1, to factor in to what we're seeing this year for growth. It could be higher, it could be less. In Dallas last year, it was almost 10%. In Texas, right? So it was a pretty high. Somebody asking a question?
Asked because they are expecting to go down. Next year, I have 2 first-time buyer.
Yes.
They're in 20s, but they are a lot, like 150K. But they will rent, they will not buy, because I'm waiting for next year to go down. What do I say?
Well, and that's what's happening right now. So it's happening, and you can kind of decide. It really is more of kind of leveling out, and that's the target for reducing interest rates, keeping prices a little bit lower. The target is to really just kind of level things out with slight growth. Right now, with the pent-up demand that we have, with what you're seeing with just a 1/4 point or a 1/2 point drop in interest rates, and the calls that the inspectors are getting, we know that there's demand out there. And when it happens, when this gets below 7% and we get down into the 6s or 6.5, you're going to be flooded with buyers that want to buy. And guess what's going to happen at that point? We don't have very much inventory. So do you want to choose from 5 houses, or do you want to choose from 1 house?
Yeah.
I have all those.
Do you want to, with 5 people bidding on it, right?
Bidding on that,
Hey, to go back to a few years ago, you used to have multiple offers and people were paying over
Yes.
this price.
And that will happen again.
There are a lot of young people, they're just renting right now.
No,
There are a lot, just waiting to go back to go down. I know personally them, and they will not buy right now.
Well, I wish I could tell when the market is going to go down, when it's going to hit the bottom. But I would tell them that, more than likely, we are going to stay here as it goes down. The only reason it's going to affordability is going to come down is because the interest rates are coming down. Prices are not going to adjust that much because we have such low inventory. Prices are going to stay up. So that's why they're relaxing this a little bit with interest rates popping.
So given how this supports trends and so forth, if someone's determined to rent, make the case to them and move on.
Exactly. Thank you.
Time when the buyers are ready to buy.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a good
The
question.
time you spend with that person who's always gonna rent, the person who needs to talk to you won't get to talk to you because you're wasting time with Joe over here.
And you can share with them.
But seriously, make the case and then move on.
Very good. Jessica?
The dotted line, the green dotted line?
Yeah, 25%.
That's 25%, that's just like the median according to NAR, basically?
It's a target that they've determined is if it's less than that, it's not the median.
Okay.
It's just like it's just a baseline that says, hey, if it's less, it's like 6 months of inventory.
Right.
Right? We know that if there's less than 6 months of inventory, we are in a seller's market. If there's more than 7 months, we're in a buyer's market. And if we're in between 6 and 7, we're in a balanced market. It's the same sort of principle.
Okay,
25% is the line, less than that, it's considered affordable.
okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, you ready to move on? Since I clicked to the next slide, you can't ask me any more questions about that one. All right, so we're going to talk about the listing presentation and getting into the listing presentation. I will leave it up to you as to whether or not you want to go into that. If you are going to talk about what we just did with your listing client in particular, I think it's a good thing. What does that do? What does this chart do for a seller who's getting ready to list their home? What might they see in this? They might see that, it's, there's going to be fewer people who can afford to buy my home now. Is that true? It's absolutely true. Depending on what price range you're in, it could be a lot fewer people than what was out there 2 years ago. So that might be something that they need to kind of not just understand, but visually see. Because there's a difference when you just sort of think something's there, but when you really see the numbers, all of a sudden it becomes specific knowledge. And that requires you to have a different level of understanding and hopefully take some action, regardless of whether you're an agent or a seller. Specific knowledge helps you better understand and creates the opportunity to take action. Just thinking you know something, typically we don't take action on that. We're a little unsure until we really know. Does that make sense? So we're going to know. All right, who wants to be the seller today? Not everybody raise their hand at once. I just need somebody to play along with me. Who wants to play? Come on, somebody.
There you go.
Yay!
Yeah.
And what's your name again?
Mary Lee,
Mary Lee?
yes.
I'm Mary Lee. I'm Jeromy Trask.
I'm Mary Lee Jessup.
It's
Nice to meet you,
Nice to
Jeremy.
meet you too. All right, so I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna have a listing conversation with Mary Lee at her home. And I don't really know her, but she's been referred to me. I was referred to her. And we've connected and I'm coming in to have a listing conversation with her. Is that anything like what you've ever done in your life ever before?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure we're on the same page. That happens. It's a real life situation. Now, not all of them are that way. Do you ever go in on a listing presentation with somebody you know very, very well? Someone who maybe raised you, a parent, an uncle, there's some family member that you know, or a really close friend, or a friend of a relative, right? And there's some connection that you know them. Let me ask you a question. Do you treat them just like I'm going to treat Mary Lee? What did I hear you say?
You should.
Oh, I heard it. So do you think you should? Kind of, right? I mean, they are a close relative or friend or somebody you know really well. But at the end of the day, are you going to cut them short just because you know them? Are you going to not give them the information that you're going to give to a stranger just because you know them? Do you think they know it already? So why would you treat them any differently, right? You really, really, really have to go through this every single time. And by the way, when you do that, when you use this data every single listing presentation, it becomes something that you know, understand, and can explain. Make sense? Okay. So Mary Lee,
Yes, sir.
I've walked in, gosh, she's gonna be real proper with this, isn't she?
I can change that up.
You
Go
can,
ahead.
you can treat me however you will.
Okay.
But just remember, you're a real seller.
Okay.
You do want to sell your home.
Yes, okay.
Okay? We're not just, you could play however you want to play, but
Okay.
it could be a real short listing presentation if you don't really want to sell your home.
I want to sell my house.
Okay, so she wants to sell her house. So I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna meet her, I'm gonna greet her. I'm gonna sort of try to pick up a little bit on her tonality, her rate of speech, some of the words she might use. Why would I do that?
Mirror and match.
Mirror and match. We've done this before, right? You've been through these other classes. This is kind of combining some of the stuff you need to know. So if you haven't gone to these other classes, you might want to go to those and learn about some of this. Because I want to make her feel comfortable and confident. I have always found, and most of the time it's true, when people feel comfortable and confident, they make better decisions. Make sense? I want her to make a good decision. I want her to make the best decision she can for her. And I want to guide her to be able to do that. And when that's really what you're trying to do, is just help somebody make a better decision, they pick up on that and they appreciate it. And there's an energy that comes across the table that another real estate agent is probably not going to have. Because the other real estate agent is just thinking about getting the sign in the yard and hoping it sells and getting a commission check. And there's an energy level that comes along with that. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have that conversation, and then we're gonna sit down at the table. I'm gonna say, all right, Mary Lee, what I'm gonna do is just kind of go through a few things with you before we really get started. Just kind of explain the market a little bit, because you've probably heard it's crazy. And I'll let her finish it. It's just a script. I just looked at her. I said, you've probably heard, and I just rolled out my arm, and she finished it. They do. And then you're picking up again on what their interpretation of the market is, not what yours is. Because right now, it's just an opinion. You're going to give them facts, and she will determine whether or not it's really crazy or not. So it's a little crazy. It's a little crazy right now. So what I want to do is I want to kind of help us focus in and hone in on things that are gonna really matter the most to you. Does that make sense? Sure. Okay, cool. So just want to talk about, and I would go back, I might explain this real quick to Mary Lee, and just kind of walk through affordability, what we're seeing, and you may be hearing something about affordability right now, but what we can kind of pull out of this is that, one, prices have gone up a lot. So from a perspective of a seller, this is a pretty good time to sell your home. It's at or very near the peak value it's been anytime you've ever owned it, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so it's a pretty good time. It's a pretty good time to sell your home in that regard. However, one of the things that we've noticed is it's become a less affordable time for buyers to purchase a home because interest rates have gone up.
So won't we just look for cash buyers then?
There are more cash buyers out there, absolutely. That's out there. It's just kind of understanding what the market's doing, and we've got a few less buyers who can afford homes than they could in the past. So let's take a segue. That's my conversation with her. I will tell you, I'm working on another chart. You guys are gonna see, I'm working on them all the time. I love bringing you new stuff. So we're gonna have a chart that will show you the actual prices of what somebody can afford at what interest rate and how that starts changing. Because for the last few years, it was like going down, right? 3 years ago, we could afford this much, and now we can afford this much, but it's starting to kind of come back up. So we're gonna watch that and we'll track that. So you'll have that for the fourth quarter as we move forward. All right, so back to Mary Lee. Now I'm gonna have, me personally, I still use paper. If I'm out on a listing presentation, I don't mind having that. Some people are very much into the computer or tablet, it's fine. Do whatever you want to do. But Mary Lee, what price point do you think your home is gonna be in?
I think it'll be $1 million plus.
Fantastic, so I like her. I like Mary Lee. It's pretty good from that first house you had in Austin in 1970, right?
It sure is.
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna circle it. I'm just gonna we're gonna look at that number. How many people have clients that are selling a home over $1 million? Not anybody right now. Okay. So, Mary Lee, can you have a less expensive home for a little while?
I'll be happy to. How about
Thanks.
700,000?
Anybody have
700,000? Can we
listings,
go lower?
clients in the 700 range?
600,000, there you go.
600? Well, our median's 400, so we know we're getting close. But either way, do you see how this works? It really doesn't matter, but you can tell there's fewer homes here. And there's always, at either end of the spectrum, there's weird movement. So in the middle, you're gonna see numbers that, there are more numbers to look at. So it doesn't matter. She's in $1.5 million. So I'm gonna circle $1 million.
No, let's go down. I think it's $1 million, but Jeromy, I think you're telling me it's probably closer to 500,000.
Well,
There's a problem.
every day. We have a chart for that. I'll show you that one later. That comes at the end when we're still not in agreement. She's been real easy. So far, I got her down 500,000.
You're good. No, I'm not there yet.
Yeah, so she's gonna pick a number and
Let's do 5, 6, whatever.
5 to 6, right? So I'm just gonna circle that. And the only reason we're gonna do that is because I just wanna focus on price point. What I have found, Mary Lee, is that price point performs a little bit differently. So we're just gonna focus on your price point.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Rather than trying to lump everything together all into one, which kind of distorts it a little bit, I just want to focus on your price point because they really do perform differently. You'll probably see that as we go through this.
Okay.
Okay, that's the script. Where did we decide? Here, 500 to 599? Okay, so I circled that, we move on. So in the 505 to 599 range, and you can talk about it there if you want a little bit, right? You can see that in 2022, it was a little more than it was in 2023 during the third quarter. Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm clear in your little conversation here.
Yeah.
You're asking the seller upfront what they think their house is.
Absolutely am.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I heard that correctly.
Yeah.
Even if they may be off by 2
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And then you're just going from what they're saying at this point.
all I'm doing is going off of what they're saying at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, even if I think you're
crazy.
freaking crazy,
Yeah.
you know, there's a reason the market's crazy. It's got a lot of crazy people like you in it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like that, But it helps you, you're absolutely right, it's a really good question. It helps you get a better understanding of where they are. You want to know that going in. It'd be great to already know that before you get there, if you can find that out before you get there.
Right, but I'm just saying, at this point, you're still focusing on
clarifying-
whatever number that they are
That's
saying.
it, that's it. And I'm hoping it's close. It's $100,000 or 150, range, so it's likely gonna be somewhat close.
But sometimes it's not close.
Sometimes it's a little off, yeah.
A little big off.
Yeah, and if they say, if she were to be more specific, and she say probably right around 600, okay? I would circle 600, but I would say, you know what? I'm gonna just kind of look at, because what happens is if you're at the bottom end of one, it means you're really close to the top end of the other. Does that make sense? So you can kind of check both of those boxes a little bit and just see if the one right below it, or if she would say, well, I'm about, 675, 800 is probably what I'm thinking. I'd say, or 675, 700, whatever. Then I would kind of also look at the next one up. So kind of know that a little bit. It adjusts as you go forward. So what we know in the 500 to 599 price range is it's down 16.4%. It just means that there are fewer homes selling this year than there were last year by 16.4% your price range, which is the highest, second highest price range of any price range as far as what's come down.
So does that mean for me that there are more buyers out there for me?
It means that there are fewer homes that are selling, which could
Got
mean
it.
more buyers. You're
Yep.
absolutely right.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. That's a good question. Speaking of buyers, the next thing we're going to look at is months of inventory, supply. Now, months of supply is really, really important, and we track this and we look at it because it really affects 4 key components that we're going to talk about. Does anybody know what the 4 things that are greatly affected by months of supply? Price.
Is on market?
Days on market's 1, price. I do it in order, otherwise I forget.
Oh, sorry.
So your price is 1. It affects the sale to list price ratio, negotiations. You might want to write this down because we're going to come back to these 4 things a lot. And I think it's important to know these 4 things are affected by months of supply. There will be, guess what, another chart coming, I'm sorry. I know I'm going to give you guys so much stuff. By the end of, as this goes on and as we get more and more information available in the Dallas marketplace, y'all's reports are going to get a little longer. I'm sorry, but they will also get more powerful for you to use. So we're going to talk about supply and how that affects some of the key things we're tracking. So supply tracks price, it affects negotiations, the sale to list price ratio. It affects the days on market, and it affects price reductions, the incidence of price reductions. All right, Mary Lee, so in the 500 to 599, last year we had 2.3 months of inventory, and this year we have 2.7 months of inventory. So it's gone up a little bit, and what that means is if no new homes were to come on the market, it would take 2.7 months before we would be out of homes to sell. We would be at 0, okay? And that's just a guide that we use to tell us whether we're in a seller's market, a balanced market, or a buyer's market. So at 2.7 months, everything less than 6 months is a seller's market. If it's between 6 and 7, it's a buyer's, or it's a balanced market. If it's more than 7, it's in a buyer's market. So it means right now, you're squarely in a seller's market and you have the upper hand in negotiations in a seller's market. That's what that means. Fair enough? So far, she's sort of still interested in selling her home, right? We're good. I'm narrowing it down, she's narrowing it down, we're getting somewhere. What's the first one that months of supply affects? Price. So let's talk about price. In the third quarter, the median price was $400,000. Last year, in the third quarter, it was $410,000. So it's down 2.4% for the quarter, but that's up 11.1% over the last 2 years. So we've seen prices come down a little bit from our peak, which happened to be in May of 2022.
So if prices are coming down, does that mean, as the seller asking, does that mean that people are taking reductions, or is that what's affecting it? They're pricing it wrong?
It's a really good question, and we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Now, so I kind of like that leading, because what she's doing is she's asking me leading questions. And it's great, because she wants to kind of she's trying to get to the point. So I'm starting to pick up on that a little bit. I could go through this a little quicker with her. I can tell already, right? I would probably go through it faster with her. She's getting it, and she's leading me where she wants to go. So you know what? Let's go there. Let's talk about that. First, where we are, 2.4%, just to give you a little bit of history of where we are. The last 2 quarters of 2023 are the first 2 quarters we've had any decline anytime recently. In fact, the last couple second and third quarters have had extremely high growth rates year over year. So we're talking 40 to 50% increases over the last few years, which has been a great thing for most sellers. They're really taking advantage of that opportunity. Yes, it's come down a little bit, but the projection moving forward is it's going to come to a balance and probably go up a little bit. I'm going to go over some monthly numbers with you in a little bit. Remember, this is the 3rd quarter. So this goes through September. We're now November. What is today's date? 12th, 13th, 14th, thank you. We're now November 14th. So we're going to look at some October numbers as well to update this a little bit. Yes.
Forgive me for some more questions.
No, I love the questions.
I'm a new agent, so I'm learning
Thank
also.
you.
So just then, you mentioned to her, you said, okay, it's been kind of going down, but in future months, we're gonna expect it to balance out and possibly go up.
Yep.
At that point, if I'm the seller, I mean, I'm gonna like hone in on that like
Good.
clockwork, and I'm gonna say, well, then why would I wanna list now if you think that it's gonna go up later? So
we'll talk.
please, you know.
If that's the question, if you're going to take over her job right now.
No. Sorry.
I'm just kidding. It's a great question. So what would you say? Anybody have a conversation that you want to have with her? So if they're looking to go up a little bit, why would I sell now? Well, here's the deal. This is the first time they've come down. The reality is we haven't seen this in a long, long time in Dallas. Am I wrong? No. Yeah. When was the last time prices went down in Dallas? Quarter over quarter. Do you even know? Who knows? It's like, it's before that. I'm only looking through 2017. It's not there.
I guess my question really is.
So prices typically go up. It's very unusual that they've come down. So just understanding that, right now you've experienced a ton of growth and a lot of sellers are capitalizing on that. I'm hoping that's kind of what she picked up on, a little bit more than what you picked up on. But everybody's going to be in their own headspace.
And I guess my thing is I'm more thinking about if I'm the person giving the listing presentation.
Yes.
Would I want to leave that part out about the possibility of it going up?
I don't have a problem with that. This is you getting comfortable with it yourself.
Okay.
But generally speaking, it's good to know that real estate goes up. And just because it goes up doesn't mean you're going to wait till it goes up. Because why are you wanting to sell now? I mean, hopefully I've already had that conversation.
I'm wanting to sell now because I want to get my equity out of the house.
So she wants to get her equity out of the house. I will tell you this, you probably ought to ask the question that leads to a compelling reason or a compelling event. So if they don't really have a compelling reason to sell, well, I don't care, I'll just sell whenever I want to sell. I just try to get as much money as I can. Okay, then I'm going to just let you list with somebody else, right? Because it's better to have somebody who really is looking to and needs to sell. And if they have a compelling event or a reason in their life, they want to do it now. They're looking for a quality of life improvement. They're looking for a job move. You know what I mean? If it's just all I want to do is time the market and get the most I possibly can,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm just being honest. What do you do at that point? I have no idea. Just guess. There's no way to time the market. Oh, it's not there anymore. Remember that first chart? The bottom, 2021, how many of you knew that was the very bottom? We didn't know until it was gone. So you just don't know until it's gone. You can have that conversation, but that's where we're going. So prices have gone up the last few years. What was the second thing that, months of supply? Negotiation. So where we are, list price to sales price ratio, 500 to 599. Last year, sellers were getting 99.8% of what they were trying to get, what they were asking for. This year, they're getting 97.3% of what they were asking. Overall, it's a difference of 2.2%, but in that price range, it's a little higher, 2.5% decrease, meaning sellers are having to negotiate a little bit more than they were a year ago. That's part of the craziness that you probably already knew.
Yes, and I'm wondering, is it coming down in prices, or does that include seller contributions? Like if I have to pay somebody's closing costs
It does
or
not.
something like that? Okay,
No. This is just in the negotiation of the price.
Okay.
Period. We do have some, I will share with you, closing costs.
okay,
And it's a really good question. That's coming up. But this is just in negotiation, in negotiation in the deal. So I've had to kind of come off my price in order to sell it. Original list price to sales price ratio. And this might include a price reduction. But no, this does not. This is only just the sales and list price ratio, original list price. Days on market, remember that's the third thing that it affects. Days on market. So right now we know that in your price range, it went from 19 days on the market to 29 days on the market. So it's up 10 days.
why do you think that is?
Well, because there's less inventory, but there are rising rates, less affordability, just taking a little bit longer to sell than it has in the past. I will tell you historically, anybody knows,
That's a good number.
30 days or less, fast sale, is it not? 60 days, 75 days, medians. Anybody been around in those times? There's a median of 45 to 65 days, right? That's kind of normal. This is still not normal. We're still in a very strong seller's market. It's come up a little bit, but the reason it's come up is because our months of supply is rising a little bit. And that's why we're seeing days on market going up. So what we've found out so far is that when months of supply goes up, the sell to list price, or the prices go down, typically stay flat or go down. When months of supply goes up, the sell to original list price ratio goes down. It's always worked this way, by the way. You'll have charts that'll show you this. Months of supply goes up, prices go down. Months of supply goes up, sell to list price ratio goes down. Months of supply goes up, days on market goes down, or days on market goes up. Next thing we talk about is price reductions. In your price range, 500 to 599, last year, 31.5% of everything that's sold had to have a price reduction before the buyer presented an offer, which was then negotiated to get a sale. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, so 31%. This year, that number's up to 43.6%, so almost 45% of the market is now needing to reduce their price in order to entice a buyer to do that. Why would that be the case? Because I can sense that's sort of what you're thinking right now. Well, why are they doing that? The reason being is that first chart we talked about with affordability, it's much more difficult to qualify for a more expensive home. And buyers are in a position how to negotiate a little bit better than they were a year ago.
Is it possible to, because I know like my neighbors had their house on the market and they thought their house was worth so much more than what people were willing to pay for it. So are you telling me that maybe sellers aren't realistic in their expectations?
A lot of them probably still fall into that category, yeah. Would you agree? Yeah. So more price reductions are taking place. How are you feeling right now as a seller? What have you learned so far that, or what's just kind of generally speaking? So here's the reality. You're gonna get to this point with somebody, you're gonna talk about price reductions, and they see that number going up, they see days on market going up, they see the sale to list price ratio going down, they see prices going down, and they're thinking like, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Deborah.
Deborah, like, why would I do this right now? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It depends. Do you want to sell a house or do you just want to list it?
Some people will be thinking, God, I missed the boat, I should have sold it a few years ago.
Yes.
But if you've got a compelling event or a compelling reason, you're really considering, I don't know what he's about to tell me, but I have a better picture, I'm a little bit clearer understanding of what's going on right now. I don't know if I like it, I don't know if I don't, but I know I want to move. So I'm kind of paying attention at a different level right now. I'm a little bit glued into this if I'm serious. If I'm not, I've already answered the cell phone, talked to the dog walker or whatever. I've left you, you know what I mean? We've gone in and we talked to those sellers before. They're just like, my wife thinks we need to sell, whatever, right? You're going to have that. But at this point, generally, if they're serious, they're kind of paying attention. They're kind of looking at you. What's next? Like, this kind of sucks. Why are you telling me this? It's the reason I'm telling you this, by the way, is because nobody else is.
Well, that's what I was about to say, was that's why these are so important right now, because nobody else is bringing it, and it makes you the expert that you are, because you're showing this is what's going on right now. This is why pricing is so important right now, is because of this.
Yeah, and we haven't even got to there yet. But right now, it's just like, why, what, huh? They're just that sort of sense of like, and every now and then, not usually at this point, but at some point, a couple more slides, when we get there, they'll actually say, how come nobody's ever shared this with me before? Why is this the first time I'm hearing this? Because they're a little bit like, why is this the first time I'm like, how come nobody's ever shared it? Because they don't have it. They don't have the information to share. That's really why.
Can I ask, I'm
Any kid.
removing from, not
Yeah.
the seller, I'm the
Okay.
realtor now.
Yeah.
Back again.
Yeah.
So could you use one of the slides in the back? So I'm thinking about clients that we have right now.
Okay.
And they think that they should be able to get a deal on every house that
Sure.
they are looking at.
True.
So we
Ooh, I
could
can't
use
wait.
that, huh?
Yeah, we got a slide for that.
Yeah, well, we could use that slide that you had just shown, that showed how much the houses are coming down right now.
Yeah, we could, but there's better slides. I'll
Okay,
show you.
okay.
All right, so
I'll be selling, back to seller.
we know that there are more people, a considerable amount more people right now that are doing price reduction. So it's important to understand, well, how much of a price reduction is needed in order to cause the home to sell. It's important to know that. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so 500 to 599, last year it was 4.7% was the median price reduction taken. This year it's 4.7%, it hasn't changed overall. It's down a little bit. So even though there are more price reductions happening, the amount is a little bit less than it was a year ago that's needed to be taken. Okay? Now, I'm not gonna do it with her, but y'all probably wanna know what these numbers sort of equate to in dollars, because it's important to get that. Because a lot of sellers that are in a $550,000 or $600,000 home are thinking, well, we'll do a $10,000 price drop. Is that gonna help?
2%.
No, you're getting
500,000, 2%, no.
You're getting closer, but it's half of this is the number that caused the house to sell. This is what did the trick, right? This is the number that you may need to get to if we don't start off in the right place. These are the sellers that didn't start off at the right place. They had to come down in price, and here's how much they had to come down, okay? What happens when you come down in your price? Couple things. One is you're no longer going to get the same percentage of the original list price you were trying to get because you've come off the price. So you've had a price reduction. And in that case, the difference is 7% across the board, and it's really close to 7.1% in the price range if you're at. So the average price range is 4.7, but you're gonna have to come off 7.1% overall to make the deal happen. That's what these sellers are experiencing that have had to have a price reduction. In other words, they didn't price it right to start with. They did a price reduction, here's where they ended up.
So what you showed me before at the 4.7% was priced correctly.
That was the amount of price reduction that was taken.
Okay. And this is?
This is the difference between what you get and what you wanted to get when you started playing the game. If you had a price reduction.
Good question here.
Yes.
So what I understand, if it's a $500,000 house, so if I see the market, I mean, so shall I ask my seller, oh, okay, you should sell it maybe 4.7% less, like it's we have a $23,000 less in the market to
So,
start with?
well, again, you can tell them whatever you want to tell them. I like them to tell me that. I like them to say, that's why we're doing this. Is because you're getting it as a realtor. You're just like, okay, well, they need to do it for less. But that's what she needs to know. Because I can go in and just have a conversation and not even show them all this stuff and say, yeah, you probably need to be a little lower than you think. Let's do it $10,000 lower than what you're thinking. And that should be good for the market. Well, that's a true statement, potentially. But these are the numbers that back it up. This is the logic behind the conversation.
So we can show him that they can decide themselves. I'm not going to
Yes.
say that.
Yes,
Got it.
yes. It's always a better pricing conversation when they're on board and you're not trying to force something. They've chosen this, and that's why we're doing all this. Really good question. Price reduction effect. So this is a sale to the new list price. In other words, I've come off my price. I now have a buyer who presented an offer. We negotiated through the offer, and I'm going to get a certain percentage of that new list price, the reduced list price. In your price range, you're going to get 98.2% versus 100%.
From your reduced price.
From
my
your
reduced price.
From your reduced price, 98.2. Whereas if it wasn't reduced, you would have gotten 100. Okay? This is the actual penalty for not pricing it correctly. Because if you think about it, you could have just priced it high and then come down in the price reduction. But when you get to the point of negotiating with a buyer and your home has been on the market for a longer period of time, you don't have the same ability to negotiate as you would had it been on the market for only a few days when a buyer presented an offer. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, this is the actual hard cost. 1.8% of the price is what it costs you to be wrong. That's the hard cost out of your pocket. But that's not the only cost out of your pocket, because you're gonna have carrying costs, you're gonna be on the market for longer. And in this case, it goes from being on the market from 12 days to being on the market for 70 days. The big difference.
Hold on, almost 2 months.
A couple months. You had your home on the market before?
Mhm.
How long was it on the market before?
Big deal or not real?
It doesn't matter. See, you can ask this question.
Yeah,
You can kind of find out what experience do they have with having their home on the market. She might say, this is the first home we've ever sold. She might say, we've sold 15 homes. And I had one that sold in one day, one that sold in one day, another one we didn't even have on the market and it sold. And then when I sold it in 4 days and did this. Okay, so you've never had to wait 70 days. Or she might say, yeah, we had one on the market for like 2 years. Right?
Right.
And if that's the case, how enjoyable was that for you?
Not at all.
Okay, it's the real scenario. Nobody likes having their home on the market for a long period of time if they're still living in it, or if they have a real need to sell it. It's not a fun time. So just touch on it a little bit. to just make sure that they're, kind of understand it's a painful thing to go from 12 days to 70 days. 12 days would be great. Last year, it was like 5. 2 years ago, it was like 5. All right, so this, we kind of get to the point here. This is kind of overall, if we talk about the market and we talk about the numbers, what I'm going to do, what I kind of want to talk about is just this top line right now, the top box. That's what everybody has access to. 19,808 homes sold in the 8-county area of Dallas that we're looking at. It's 97.6% was the median sale to list price ratio. And it was 28 days on the market. Now, now that there's kind of 2 different paths that you can take if we're studying the market and really want to understand where we're going to end up. Homes that had price reductions and homes that did not have price reductions.
I want to be on the right side.
You know what? We call this the game board. Because that's really what people see. They kind of want to put their piece on the green box. If this is a game, you want to end up in the green box. And if you just look at the numbers and really, just you can see the difference between the green box and the red box. Following the left-hand path price reduction, and then I didn't list it with the right agent at the right price. I fired the first agent, hired another agent, had to reduce the price again. I finally ended up selling it. That's 16% of the market falls into that category right now. 16%, 3,185 sellers had their home on the market before, had to get a new agent, a different agent, and then sold it. They ended up selling it after being on the market for a total of 146 days, and they got 10% less than what they were originally trying to get. Some penalties there, right? So this is obviously not where you want to go. This is wrong agent, wrong price. This is right agent, wrong price. That's the second box over here. So I had to have a price reduction. I didn't set the price right, but it wasn't my agent's fault. I didn't listen to them, or I didn't understand the market, or the market was shifting. We had to make a price reduction and we sold. Over here, no price reductions needed, but I had to fire my first agent because they were inept. That's a very small percentage, 6% of the market. 54.2% of the market lands in the green box. There's a pretty good chance you're going to land in the green box if we price our home correctly. She's just nodding. She's like right on board. There they are. Wrong agent, wrong price, so on and so forth. Everybody got this one? The game board, feeling good? By the way, those were all the winners. Do you think this person feels like a winner? Not really.
I feel relieved.
I feel relieved. I'm done. Right? They're kind of like, we probably should have made some different decisions to start with. But they all closed. They all achieved whatever they were trying to achieve in selling their home and moving on to the next one. These are the folks that didn't sell. These are the folks who thought they were going to sell, and for whatever reason, it didn't turn out. So they canceled their listing, pulled it off the market, withdrawn, whatever you want to call it, or it expired. The time ran out of the listing, and they decided, let's just let it expire. And in this case, 500 to 599. Last year, 22.9% of all of the listings that we call that finalized listings. So it either sold or it was failed, expired, or withdrawn. All the finalized listings added together. 22.9% last year. This year is 26.5%. So about a quarter of everything that has gone on the market has come off the market. It did not sell. And that rate is going up, as you can see. In most price ranges, a couple price ranges, it's actually going down though. Important to understand. So when you put all that together, and this is where the rubber kind of meets the road for y'all, and this is where I'm going to have a serious conversation with Mary Lee, is that when we kind of try to put that all together, we're trying to figure out where should I price it at? Where do I need to be? Here's what I'm going to tell you. For every 100 homes that are listed on the market right now, and in your neighborhood, there's not 100. right?
Correct.
What do you think, there are 10 homes?
Probably.
Maybe 10 homes we're gonna be seriously competing with? What do you think? Is that a good number? 10, 15, 20 homes? I mean, how many are you really gonna be competing with?
And it's probably high.
Might be high, depending if it's a specific area. So, but you know, 10 is a relative number, right? You can use that and just, you know, there might be 10 homes, but you might know what it is. You might want to use that exact number if you already know, hey, and it's a good thing to understand and know. Here's our competition right now, because that's what we're focused on. So out of the 10, 25, because remember 25%, or 100 rather, 25 of them failed last quarter, likely because they just weren't priced right. It could be for other reasons, but for the most part, if the home's priced right, it's going to be sold. So likely due to overpricing, those fall into the red category. 75 of them sold, so 75% is sold. Of the 75 that sold, 40% had to have a price reduction. That's another 30 homes, okay? Which means that when you add 25 plus 30, you get 55 out of every 100 homes that's currently on the market right now is likely overpriced based on the most recent quarter of information that we have, okay? So half of the homes, if you think about it, that you're going to be competing with are losers, okay? 5 out of 10. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be competitive with this group. I'm not trying to be the best one of these guys. I need to be competitive with the green box homes. Does that make sense? Because if I can be competitive and I can present value with this group and a buyer chooses my home over their home, then I'm going to win in the marketplace. If I'm over here and I'm competing with them, I'm likely to just follow the path. I'm going to be hard of the losers. You may have been a loser in the past, so that might make you feel bad. So I might want to know that a little bit, or you may have already been on the market. You could be the second agent. You might want to know that information before you get too harsh, but the reality is I want them to kind of understand there's a different path here. So now take a step back. Most of the time when you go in, you come to the table with a comparative market analysis, right? You've prepared a CMA, have you not? What is the CMA made up of? What kind of listings do you use in your CMA?
Active, pending, and sold.
Active, pending, and sold. Which one do you focus the most on?
Closed.
Pending.
Pending.
The closed one.
Closed ones. So it depends on who you are. Bank, closed ones. They only want to know what's closed and what's done, and they're going to do an appraisal, or they're going to hire an appraiser to come in and do an appraisal. It's going to be based on closed comparables. They do factor in some of the pendings and some of the some of the active listings. But when it comes to competing in the market right now, and in other words, if Mary Lee's going to put her house on the market today, so if you decide to list your home with me today, we need to focus on the 5 homes that are in it to win it. This is our competition. So here they are. I've already identified the 5 homes in the market that I think are green box homes. How do I know they're a green box home? Well, it could be under contract, but I use active listings. I use the active listings. You can use the pending listings that fall into the same category. It probably has the same effect. 12 days on the market is the key. And in this case, if it's been on the market longer than 12 days, it's not a green box home. It's been on the market 13, and it looks really good. You know, got great pictures, great neighborhood, all that. You may want to use it as a green box home. If it's been on the market 25 days, there's been no price reductions, and they don't have an offer yet, I don't know. I don't think it's going to fall into this category. It might, but maybe not. If it's been on the market 45 days, I'm not going to use it as a green box home. Does that make sense? Yes. So here are the green box homes that I've identified. What I want you to do is just kind of look through them, or here they are on the pictures and screens, and just check out the pictures, look at the listing, look at the price, and kind of put your home in with these and tell me where it would be. Is it gonna be somewhere in the middle, a little higher, a little lower? You tell me where you think your home falls based on what you see in the listings. And the reason we do that is because buyers have access to this information. This is what they see. Buyers look online first, correct? So this is what they're seeing. This is what they're deciding to go into. And it's important to understand which ones are green box homes, which ones are red box homes, so that you can be competitive with the ones that are likely to sell in the winners category and do well, okay? So she'll just start to look at it and she'll go through. Sometimes at that point, if I haven't been through the home, I'll say, while you're doing that, I'm gonna just walk around. I wanna take a quick glance at the home, and I really wanna look at it from the perspective of a buyer. People been through both, right? So I wanna look at it from the perspective of a buyer and really take it in from that. So I'm just gonna take some notes. You don't need to follow me around or, show me anything. I just wanna really see it from the perspective of a buyer. And then when I come back, we'll talk about what you found and talk about kind of what I put together, what I found too. And
Okay, sounds good.
there. Okay, so that's how we're gonna do that. Yes,
See, when you said 12 days on the market.
That's for this-
It's a good thing, but the thing is, it's only been in the 12 days, it might be wrong evaluation. It might or might not, I'm asking you.
it might or might not, but I do know this, if you look at it and you're the real estate professional that is potentially gonna be hired by somebody, and we can't talk about compensation, but you know what I'm talking about, you're gonna get paid to do this at a high level.
Yes.
And it's your job to know the ones you're looking at, the ones that you're sharing, the competition that's out there. You may need to go preview homes again if you've never done that before. Get into them, go visit these, and it's just some stuff, some practices, so you can really understand that home. It may look good on paper, but back up to something that isn't in the pictures, you're like, yeah, that's not a green box home, or whatever, right? So you'll know that, but identify the green box homes, have them ready, let them, because that's where they then start to pick the price like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and that's why I used the closed one, because they are recently closed.
But
and
closed is
I don't want
too
to-
far in the past, it's already gone. I'm not competing with a home that closed, I'm competing with one that's on the market right now.
I see.
So that's a good measure, because if you're looking at, like, if you're going into a listing appointment and you're saying, okay, these two houses have been on the market for 12 days, I mean, you could say, like, they're due for a price reduction. We don't see them go
That's
under
what I was
contract.
thinking,
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that in a little bit more detail too. This is really good. So this is great news for some sellers. You still have a chance at selling at or above the list price if you price it correctly. And in your price range, although that's come down, you still have a 32% chance. So a third of everything that's sold for more than they were asking, because they priced it right to begin with. They were the ones that were the most competitive in the green box category. Generally speaking, what's the seller thinking right now?
I want to be that house.
I want to be that house. I want to be that one, right? Because they've already sort of like, I don't want to be red. I want to be in the green, and I want to be at the top of the green. So now right, I've moved them from despair and into opportunity. Sort of how, I guess I would phrase it. I don't know. I just made that up, so whatever. But you know what I'm saying? It sort of sounds good, right? They were not feeling that great, and now they're feeling better. And here's something else. If you want to be the leader of the green box, you're going to sell, in your case, 9 days, not 12. Okay? 9 days, not 12. Does that sound better?
How do you be the leader,
I just gave you the competition.
right?
You have to
So
be
you
the
think I
best
should-
value.
Okay, so,
So you're the one that can kind of determine that. Take your seller hat off, put your buyer hat on, and you tell me.
well, I would pay.
Right. They're going to say whatever.
Yeah.
They might tell you, but I have this, but I have that. Hopefully, if you walked around the home, you've already taken some notes, and you may come back and have a conversation with that. But, you know, I just spent $50,000 on a new roof. Who cares? I mean, it's an important thing, don't get me wrong. And some people need a new roof. That stuff's gonna come out at the inspection, honestly. It doesn't normally get identified by a buyer when they're looking at pictures, deciding which one they're gonna be super excited to get in and see. Not always. The new windows, the tankless water heater, stuff that you spent thousands of dollars on, it's not gonna translate to you getting thousands of dollars more because you did that. Because it's not really gonna be noticed. What they are gonna notice when you're looking at those pictures, and here's what a seller will say, oh, I didn't realize they had redone their bathroom. Oh, looks like they did their kitchen. I didn't know that, right? They're gonna see things in the pictures and they're gonna go, that looks a little better than ours. So not only are they going to price their home competitively themselves, they are going to identify what needs to be done to be more competitive if they choose to go that route. This is a win-win, is it not? That's what you're wanting them to do. So they'll identify some things that they want to do. You've identified some things, you know, it'll come up naturally in that conversation, sometimes at this point, sometimes a little later with, all right, what do we need to do to get it ready to sell? They'll kind of talk about it a little bit. You'll ask the question, is there anything that you want to do to the home to be before we put the home on the market? Is there anything you're thinking about? You can have that conversation already, you should have it now. Somebody asked about seller paid closing costs. Is it you? Okay, I can remember. So seller paid closing costs last year, 34.2% of the closed sales had some form of seller concessions. This year, that number's gone up to 43.7. So kind of like price reductions gone into the 40% range, so has the amount of people that are paying closing costs on behalf of the seller or on behalf of the buyer.
Jeromy, quick
Yes.
question. We ask this, and I come every month when they do it. Do these numbers include new builds if they're in MLS, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
This number does.
Okay.
New construction is factored into this.
Okay.
Can I pretend to be the seller for a second?
Yes.
So, so tell me, so if I want to be in that green box
Yeah.
and I'm going to, price my house to where hopefully I won't have that reduction, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. What is your best guess about whether or not I'm going to need to be in this category also about contributing to closing costs for my buyer? If I price it, hey, where I think I'm gonna be in this green box, do you think that I can get away with not paying any?
Pick me.
You
I tell every seller this, budget 1% to 2% of the sales price for repairs. Just do it. If you don't have any repairs, you don't get, it's a win.
And she's talking about repairs, which typically get negotiated via closing costs. But we're also seeing actual discount points and closing cost buy downs happening as well. So there's a combination of both, which is part of the reason why this number's up as much as it is.
Yeah.
Because it's taking a 11.3%, percentage point increase, which is a pretty big increase.
I would say buy downs are a big component of that right now.
Right now they are, yes. So it's helping that first chart we talked about with affordability, it's helping a buyer be able to afford more. So it gives you an opportunity. So the sellers that are winning, the green box, are the ones that are actually doing this.
Yes.
Because they understand the market better than the person in the red box who's saying, well, I'm not giving them anything. I've already got them the best price they can get it. They can take it or not. Okay, but you're ruling out a lot of buyers when you do that. Be prepared to win in the market by helping a buyer afford the home that they want instead of settling for something they don't want. Okay? First 30 days. Love this chart. This is my favorite because it just sort of sums it all up, in my opinion. First 30 days. These are the days down at the bottom, 0 to 30. Why do we have 0 on the board? Because some homes go in the MLS as active, and
10 minutes later, 1 hour later, or whatever, the status gets changed to closed or pending, under contract. Because it was a pocket listing, it was an off-market sale that they're just putting in the MLS. They do have all the data. Sometimes they put in the MLS and they don't have all the data. If I don't have everything, I can't use it, so it's not here. Your all's market doesn't have very many of those, but there are a few. Most of the ones have everything that we need. So what we know on day 0, 233 listings in the third quarter sold before they hit the market. On day 1 of being on the market, day 1, that afternoon, it went under contract. 178 homes fell in that category. On day 2, 412. You get to day 4, that's the highest number of homes sold within the first 30 days. Day 4, 848 homes sold. Okay, and then what starts to happen after that? The number of sales gets smaller, smaller, smaller as time goes on. So the majority of homes are going to sell relatively quickly. We also know the red line up top on day 4, 100.8% of what they were originally trying to get is what they get. So the majority of these homes, more than half of them, of the 848, are selling for more than what the seller was trying to get. Does that make sense? The blue line here are the number of homes that are being price reduced on those days. So some things you're going to notice. It's actually a few homes that have a price reduction right off the bat. Few homes have a price reduction within a day or two because it just like was crickets or whatever, okay? But one of the things you sort of start to pick up on is after day 4, that number picks up and it starts to pick up pretty aggressively. The agents that understand this chart know that after the first weekend, if you got a hot green box home and you don't have an offer, you may need to have a price reduction. Still in the market we're in right now, just the first weekend. That's what this tells us. It's still that way. Certainly though, after the second weekend, 12 days, everything starts to drop off. The sale to list price ratio starts to come down. And that's when the price reductions really start to pick up. That's that 12 days we were talking about earlier. And this sort of reinforces that green box home of 12. But the real winners sort of are falling in that 6 to 8, 9 day range. Up top, it just says 52.7% of all the sales, half of all the sales that occurred happened in the first 30 days of being on the market. 12 days, after 12 days, price reductions pick up and the sale to list price ratio becomes more volatile. 14.7% of the homes needed a price reduction or had a price reduction in the first 30 days, whereas 67.6% of everything that was sold after being on the market for 30 days required a price reduction. Jessica says it's crazy. And now that you know how a price reduction affects the bottom line and the net to the seller, don't you feel sorry for the 67.6% that fallen into that category? It's kind of like we want to avoid that. So we know our first 30 days is the best window of opportunity we have. This is a summary of everything. We're no longer on the script. Thank you, Rayleigh. Did you feel it? You feel like?
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
You gonna list it with me?
100%.
Okay, good. We didn't even talk about marketing.
No, and you know,
I didn't even talk to you about that stuff.
Well, but because I know you're gonna sell my house on day 0.
Yeah, but day 0,
Don't spend your
I'm
money.
gonna sell it on day 5. To be perfectly honest, my goal is to sell it on day 5. That's when I know that that's what we're shooting for. And I will tell you this, if we get to that point and we have not gotten there, we're gonna have another conversation about what we might need to do to adjust it to make sure we win. We're not gonna wait till we get to 12 or 13 days. Because at that point, we could potentially chase the market and follow that 67% right down to the bottom. I don't wanna do that. So we already know what the price reduction is, 4.7%. We know what her list price is because she just said it a little while ago. So could I already have some paperwork drawn up Could I already have that number? Could we already be talking about that? If we get to next Thursday, or whatever it is, maybe not next Thursday, because that's Thanksgiving, and it's a little bit of a weird time to put a home on the market right now, we know that, but you know what I'm talking about. If we get to 12 days from now, here's what I'm gonna suggest, because we know that's what's gonna cause it to move. We can piddle around with small little price reductions, but all we're gonna do is just chase the market right to the bottom. We gotta get ahead of that ball. Once it starts rolling downhill, it's the only way to catch it. Right? You ever try to catch a ball going downhill?
Not easy.
Depends on how steep the hill is and how heavy the ball is, but basketballs, man, those things just roll fast. And the steep hill, it's like you're chasing it. You gotta get ahead of it. And if you don't do it right, you're gonna end up stumbling and falling and hurting yourself. So those are talking points for you all to have, summaries. This is as you get ready for the holiday season, we move in past Thanksgiving and into the Christmas and season holidays. You've got talking points here. This is the stuff that's kind of people like to understand and know. Things you can write down, you make little notes, talk about it, have it, memorize it. Some of the stuff that you find interesting. I wouldn't share price reductions and the effect of price reductions in that in an elevator speech at a holiday party, but.
Can you go back, please? Under supply, 32.4 months?
Yeah, so that was the
There should be
typo.
2.4, right?
It's the typo, yeah, my
Yeah,
typo.
but my heart just sank.
Welcome to my world.
Thank you. And the reason being is because this was just updated actually this morning, so I think it said 3.2 before.
Yeah,
It's
3.5.
It's been updated and corrected.
The one
Yeah,
in,
that's 3.5.
yeah, the one in, our chart says 2.5.
Yeah, and I will tell you though, the real number is 2.4.
2.4.
Yep, it was adjusted, so that's been changed. Good catch, thank you. Interactive charts, so you can use these charts to, you just sort of double click on this page here and interactive or a spreadsheet will pop up. At that point, you can select the price range that you're in her case, 500 to 599, and the county that she's in, Collin County or whatever county the listing is in. And then it'll give you the numbers for that price range in that county. And you'll find that these are just a little bit different. Collin, it was 11 days versus the entire market was 12, so on and so forth. But it's pretty much gonna fall in line, we're getting at the county level. So you can break that down by county. You can also do this chart broken out by county. If you get to the point where their price is very different than what reality is likely to show, but they seem like they really want to sell, just sort of walk them through this. This is sort of the last ditch and effort to help them get it. And at this point, if they don't, it's okay to walk away. It's okay. You're better off being the second agent at this point. So what this means is they want to get 375,000. I suggest it should be at 350. That's not a big difference, but it might make a difference in today's market. You can adjust these prices, put in whatever you want. Make sure you play with this before you go out and have this conversation so that you understand what it's going to say. But you put in a box, in the yellow kind of boxes, the numbers that associate with what that says. So the seller's desired price is 375. Everything else below the seller's desired price will auto-populate. Your suggested price, or what you think the market is telling us we should market it at, that's sort of how I like to phrase it. The market is telling us we should probably price it at 350. If I'm right, you'll get likely 100%, which means $350,000 after being on the market for 11 days. And even though that's $25,000 than what you're thinking about asking, the net sales price is $1,250 more. And it's likely to take you 120 days or 119 days less, which equates to about 4 months. If you factor in the carrying costs for those 4 months, the total benefit to you is closer to $13,298 by pricing it right versus price that's going to potentially lead you to the red box. This is the worst case scenario. This is the best case scenario. All you want them to do is understand it. If they understand it and they're still willing to risk it, then you get to make the decision whether you're gonna go down that road with them or not. Because that's the road they're gonna take, fine. If they got to this point, they're gonna take it, there you go. New construction, I'll go through it real quick. 20% of the market is new. That's what's in the MLS. We know a lot of new construction is sold outside of the MLS, so there's a lot more competition out there for new homes that factor into it. But what is in MLS means that 20% of all the numbers that I just shared with you are new construction. And new construction tends to behave a little differently, so we break it out. Prices are a little bit different with new construction. 418 versus 398. So that 20% drives the median price up just a little bit. You can see here that new construction in the third quarter was down 6.5%, whereas resale homes were only down 1.7. So earlier when we said that the overall market is down 2.4%, it's broken into a couple categories. If you're dealing with a resale seller, the number is 1.7. So if you've got somebody who's a real numbers specific person, you can go a little deeper with this if you want to, as long as they're still awake, right? Because it's getting late in the afternoon, and that's going to happen. There's a lot of numbers, so I get it. But you can go there a little bit if you want to. New construction and so here we know new construction is actually up 52.5%. For new homes being categorized or showing up in the MLS as sold. Resales down 18.3. So there's one thing that we know. It's a big difference, whereas the whole market's down 10%, but in general, it's broken up into two. Months of supply, new construction 3.2, resale 2.2. I know that your charts, if you're looking at this, have different numbers because it's been updated and corrected. These are the right numbers. For today, right now. Median days on the market, 77 for new homes, 22. You'll find every now and then in new homes, there'll be one that's like 3,000 days on the market or whatever. And that's because some of these homes get listed in the MLS and it's just that one that's listed, but it's like listed the entire time the neighborhood's being built out. And then it finally sells at the end. And it's the only one they put in the MLS. So you got to sort of factor that into some of these numbers with new construction. Some of the trends, just to follow the trends, we've got pricing history. You can see where prices have gone up and down. This reflects just a line instead of the bars that we looked at, the gray bars, the very first chart. Sale to list price ratio, you can see where that's been. Sorry, I'm going really fast, but I got other stuff I want to share. So we know that it peaked in 2022, around May of 2022. 2022 was a tale of 2 years. It was like a great year, and then oh no, what's happening? Somebody's slammed on the brakes in front of me, and there's like 50 cars that are piled up now, right? It's just like, what's going on? It was like a crash, but not a crash, but it felt like this is, just came to a big slowdown. And here's what you can see. Prices did this, sale to list price ratio did this, days on market went the other way, so on and so forth. Failed listings also went up. So the number of homes coming off the market or being withdrawn and expired failed, that's back up to, like I said, 25%. So it's where we are this year. And then there's quarterly information. Same info we just did by price range, you can do by quarter. So if you are using some of this material for marketing, use the quarterly stuff because it's less specific. It gives them the general sense of the market without giving away your most valuable, asset when you come in and have the conversation. So use some of this quarterly data that compares quarter over quarter, okay? And all of it's in there, closing costs, all the stuff that we talked about by price range is just in here by quarter. The only thing that's not there by price range that is in quarterly is distress sales. We track it, it's the very last slide in the presentation. And the reason being is it's a very small percentage, 0.4% of everything that's sold fell into this category. Now, what we know with affordability changing and monthly prices going up, that at some point down the road, people may not be able to afford the mortgage that they're in or the mortgage they just got. And we might see more failures and faults, that might go up, so we're tracking it. Just know it's the last slide in the quarterly presentation. If you're curious what's happening in distressed sales, which are short sales and foreclosures, here's where you'll see that information. How we doing?
Good.
All right, good. So now we're gonna go to the MMO. This is stuff that Jessica and Jill, you guys go over this every month?
We did the quarterly last month.
You did the quarterly last month. Have you done this October yet?
No.
Okay, so we'll just quickly, I want to quickly kind of show you this if I can get it up, and there it is. Where's the little, there it is. Okay. So this is the latest month. So here's what I'm going to come back to, having a conversation with Mary Lee just about the county that she's in. They're all look the same, where you have all bigger price points now. So the price point's a little bit narrower, and then all of the key statistics that we just went through are all here. This is like a spreadsheet format, right? This is just a bunch of numbers. Most sellers are not interested in looking at this. They don't want to figure it out. You have to know it, you have to figure it out, and you just have to kind of go to the point of what it was that she just was talking about that was important to her. So we narrowed your price range down, didn't we? What did you decide it was going to be at?
I think we're gonna 575.
Okay,
There you go.
so 550 to 600.
Yep.
See how that worked? You work in unison. You had a bigger range, we narrowed it down. Now I've got a little bit smaller range for us to focus on. So 550 to 600, 412 new listings were taken in the month of October. 941 were available to be purchased. 393 went under contract. That's a pending ratio of 29.5%. By the way, down here, pending ratio tells us what that is: active listings plus pending listings divided by pending listings. And it also tells us that, well, it doesn't really tell us, it's that pending ratio, the higher the number, the faster things are selling, the hotter the market. The lower that pending ratio is, the slower the market or the cooler the market. And you can just kind of look at the overall it's 30, so you're kind of right in the middle, so on and so forth. You go on down the road, we have months of supply in that exact price range. The absorption rate, which is just an inverse calculation to months of supply, shows it as a percentage rather than how many months. I personally like using months of supply. Some people really like absorption rate, whatever. How many is sold above list price, following that line. And you may just have a highlighter, right? And you just sort of highlight that line so that you can focus on it and just go to the numbers. How many were price reduced, what percentage there were in October, what the not price reduced original sale to list price ratio is, what the price reduced sale to original list price turned out to be if they had price reductions, and same thing for days on the market, ones that did not have price reductions and one that did, and then how many were failed. So this just updates the numbers in case there's a change from September, which really, remember, September is looking at 3 months prior to September. So it's like, that window, it puts them all together. So even the end of September looks different than the whole quarter put together. Certainly by the time you get to October, and then now November, when that comes out in December, we'll have November numbers, it's going to be different. All selected counties. So here's where it's up or down. So if I go to Collin County, for instance, well, I guess I'll go back to this chart. This just gives us all counties put together, a full year history of each one of those categories in each month. So you can kind of see a trend. They call this a spark line. And this just tells you seasonal adjustments. It kind of looks at what that seasonality is. It shows it here because there's a lot of seasonality in the market, and you can kind of trend and see last year between October and November, prices went down a little bit. So I would expect that to be similar this year. It's a seasonal adjustment. Now, if it was an unseasonal time like it was in 2020 or 2021, you may not be able to use that. But the second half of 2022 was fairly seasonal, and so far 2023 has proven to be seasonal. So you can follow that trend. And there's the individual counties. All the counties are in here that we're using. So you've got all of that information for each one of the counties.
Hey, Jeremy,
Yes.
question. Is there an advantage of using these charts by county versus city?
Only if you know you're going to be in a city and a price range that has a very small number of sales. Because we use aggregate data, and if there's just only one or two, it may not provide you enough information to be as accurate as you would like it to be.
So it would be beneficial to look at both.
It would be beneficial to look at both and make sure that when you're looking at the number of homes, so let's do that. So we're going to go into here we got some other ones. That's the counties, selected cities. So when you're looking at cities, there's all the cities. These are all hyperlinks. You can just boop, pop on that. It'll tell you. This is a description of what Far North Dallas means. Far North Dallas is anything that's in zip codes, blah, 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 blah. Here it'll tell you Preston Hollow zip codes, those two zip codes, as long as it's not in Highland Park ISD. If it's in Highland Park ISD, it falls into the Highland Park category if it's in those zip codes. So we tried to kind of give you some specifics about how those areas are described. But once you get there, you click on that area, and then you can see how many sales there are overall. But you get into Allen or wherever, whichever area you're at, and if you're looking at a price point that has 0 sold, it's not going to give you any data. If you've got 1 sale or 2, you're going to have some data, but it might look a little weird, right? 140 days on the market if it's price reduced, 136 days if it's not price reduced. That just doesn't make sense because there's just not enough data. Somebody had their home on the market for a long period of time. They didn't have a price reduction. It could mean a lot of things. Maybe they improved it. It could be a new construction that just took a few months to sell. So, but you know what I mean? Like it's hard to know when there's only 2 sales. So look at the number of closed sales, make sure that there's enough there. 1 or 2, 3, it gets kind of low. So you just got to be careful with that. You may want to use the county versus just the city to give you a better idea. Because it's going to be close. And last but not least, I think we have some, this is the same sort of information to spread out a little bit differently. This is just the top 3 price ranges, or top 4 price ranges for the areas that we're looking at, the counties that we're looking at. So it just kind of breaks it down. It looks just like the one we were just in, and it combines active listings, which you will start to see active listings show up in the quarterly report as well. It's not something we've done in the past, but I like it better in there, so I'm going to start putting it in there. So these are the homes and then the different counties, whether they're up or down for homes that are priced at $750 or higher, and each price range and area, how many active listings there are, and it just goes through all of the data, closed sales, change in the closed sales, price range, months of supply, which we know drives how many things?
4.
What are they?
Price,
Price,
percent of original list price received, negotiation days on market, and
Yes! Already got it. He's ready to go on a listing presentation today. Do you have one today? Do you have one tomorrow? When's your next listing presentation?
I don't know, I just had one yesterday. I wish I would have taken these numbers.
Okay. Right?
Her idea was
Next
way,
week.
I don't know where she got that number.
So, but do you understand?
And
Remember,
there's nothing nearby, that's another problem. There's a house, there's nothing nearby, sold last few months.
yeah, it's sometimes you don't have a whole lot of comps to look at. That's absolutely true. Median days on the market, it's all that information is here. All right, what did I miss? What questions do you have for me? We still have people online. 7 of them are still around.
So Jessica, you actually take these charts that you went over as your listed presentation, pretty much.
Just part of it. So here, that's a really good question. I'm going to show you, I don't mean to jump in front of you, Jessica, but we do have the seller presentation charts here.
Oh.
So if you have a listing presentation coming up and you are not exactly sure how to incorporate this into it, here are the slides that I would definitely include. And they're already here. They are set out. This is almost a grab and go. Now, when I say grab and go, here's a lot of stuff like data input forms and all that stuff. That's not in here. You got to put all that together. But just that conversation that I had, that's what we're talking about here. So it's 23 charts overall. The five,
Has this, right?
you have this already.
Where is the chart?
Where is that?
You don't have this, the toolkit, the seller listing kit?
Not in our portal.
Okay, so we'll figure that out.
Okay.
You will?
Thank
That's
you.
even more exciting.
I think we want it, I want that.
Okay, so we've got 5 most effective marketing charts, 15 most critical pricing charts. That's the stuff we just went over. 4 interactive charts. You don't have to include all those, but those are at least the ones you should consider having, and the 3 most informative staging charts. So if you can go in and talk a little bit about marketing, talk about the market itself, talk about staging, which is really making it look good in pictures and making it look good when they come through the home. That's important now. We're back to a beauty contest and a price war. Before, it didn't matter how pretty you were, it sold. Right now, you're either going to help somebody else look good or they're going to help you look good. Which one is it? Marketing. So we know we have the best market share. I like what Jessica said. You have to put Coldwell Banker and EXP together to get close to where we are by ourselves. Here are some suggestions that you might include in what you're going to do to market and sell the home for them, so on and so forth. So these are here. There is in your box, when you get this, if you have access to it or when you get access to it, there's a Word document where you can come in and customize this. So you can customize it right here too, but you can also change the Word document. You can adjust these to, if you're not doing flyer boxes, don't put out there, you're going to do a flyer box. You know what I mean? This needs to be your list of things. We know that 51% of the market uses the internet to purchase a home. We know that this is one of our most important charts, the green box and the red box, because remember when we got her here, she was like, I want to be over there. I don't want to be over here. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And this is just kind of a suggestion for staging average cost of things that are very simple to do that will help market your home, how much that costs and what the return on that investment is. These are done by the National Home Stagers. It's part of here. So here's the MLS, List Hub, KWLS, where this syndicates to, the fact that we control our listings, and we're making sure that they're being seen and they're out there available for buyers to find. We put all the listings in this. You have the listing presentation, or you should have something that goes along with this. Just a couple charts there. Pricing, these are the charts that we're going to kind of go through. I wouldn't show this to a seller. This is for you, right? This is your kind of guide to make sure you understand here's what we're talking about. We're getting ready to share with them. This is a 4-up. You don't have this yet, but you're going to see this too coming forward. I like using this because it's an overall the market. Remember when we got to that red box, green box sort of thing, and that top number? That top number, here's the charts for that. We know that year to date, sales are down 7.4% versus where they were year to date last year. Remember, 2002 is a tale of 2 years. So it's a little hard to compare year to date, quarter over quarter is better. Median sales price is down 2.4%. It's highlighted in red, bolded, because it's unusual that it's down. It's 2.4%. That will likely, hopefully, we not go back down again. Median sale to list price and the median days on market. So you have a 4 up there that just sort of summarizes the overall market. And then we go into the number sold, the price reduction, the number sold, the number that sold, if it's higher or lower. Here's what we know there. The problem is in the market right now is that there's overpricing. A lot of homes find themselves in a situation where they have to do price reductions. So of those that we just talked about that sold, some of them had to have a price reduction. We know that your goal is to get the highest price in a short amount of time. So overpricing, if we don't price it correctly, we're likely to fail to sell the price reduction. So that's kind of that. You can use this or not, but it just summarizes sort of the overall problem in the market. We come back, here's the price reductions, here's the effect to sell to list price ratio, the effect that price reductions have on the days on market. Here's that board again that we've already talked about. So you want to include this chart. We're going fast, but I'll hang around afterwards if you want to get specific questions. You can drill it down, so we put the interactive in the listing presentation for you. I would do this before you go, or test it and make sure it works on your computer before you're sitting down with somebody. If you're gonna push these buttons and make it interactive while you're sitting with them, practice it. There's the first 30-day chart, total failed listings, putting it all together. Don't want to end up there, want to end up here. Here's the homes we're going to compete with. Here's the 5 to choose from. How would you position your home against these homes so that you can be the one that, sells? Because you're either going to make them look good or they're going to make you look good, right? So that's the green box. Green box is customizable by area and price range. Sales that are above list price. This is a comparison. If you're looking at somebody who's thinking about buying, they're considering Collin County or other counties, you can go through some of that data, or if a seller just interested, or if just for your information, you want to know the difference between what's happening here. If you're looking at a listing or considering taking a listing that might be, kind of right on the line between a couple different counties, different areas, you might want to explore those numbers. And here's the pricing worksheet. Then you come to staging, just some information about staging, because it is important right now, more important than it's been in the last few years in particular, to stage the home. They sell faster and typically for a little bit more money. Here are some things.
Back up just one. The investment in staging is always less than your first price reduction. That's gold.
Yeah, that's.
It's gold?
That's gold, that is great.
I'm going through this stuff so fast. Thank you for picking it up.
I got your back.
No, it's good. And that's Barb Schwartz. I didn't write any of this stuff. I just pulled it off from the National Association of Home Staging Professionals, I think is what it's called.
This is going to be available in the future.
You have it right now.
I'm working on it,
Yeah, you guys will get it.
working on it right now.
And then this is just the home staging, some of the things they can do, how much that might cost, what the potential increase or value that could show in the sales price, what their return on the investment is. And the reason that that's there is because these percentage of agents suggest this, have used it, and it's worked. Okay, so we've just kind of pulled out the top ones. That makes the most sense to get the house ready to sell with the least amount of money.
It's an old chart.
Price war, beauty contest, great condition, best value, you're in the go. Green box. As your condition is not as good as the others and you start to make them look good, as your price is not quite as good as the others, you fall into the price reduction category, the yellow category. And then those that are out of the market right now are the ones that are failed, that's the red market. Cool.
So I just asked Angie to put it in the portal outside of the monthly or quarterly, like it'll be its own tab.
Okay.
So that would
Like
be
it's the
very good.
toolkit, is that what it's called?
Toolkit, yes.
Yeah, I get confused.
Yeah, she's working on it.
Outside of the quarter.
Yeah, it'll be called toolkit, and there'll be a toolkit for each quarter, and you'll have one, I can't remember if I have two, one for condos. I don't know if I have one for condos or not, I might, I just don't. And then you have the Word documents too, so you
That'll
can.
be easy to find, go ahead and print it.
Yeah, and the Word documents, if you use it and read through it, it'll walk you through exactly how to fill everything out and do it. And there's actually some other dialogue within the Word documents that you can have with your sellers. Any other questions? Yes?
Mine are more,
Do you want to have a conversation after we're done with class?
yeah.
Any other general questions?
General question, will you be doing this every quarter for the market center? I'm surprised of the low attendance that we have today. And I know it's the time of the year,
Jessica, I
but
don't think anybody should
we
get the
should have,
toolkit
we should
unless
have
they
had
were
this place
here.
packed.
No, serious. I'm serious.
Really, I mean, that's just so sad.
That's the only way you're gonna start getting people to attend things.
Just share your stories. And I agree. I think that right now, particularly with the market and the shifts that we're seeing, the agents that are getting out of the business, this is your opportunity to win at a high level and to win for years to come. So take that opportunity and do something with it. Remember, you know it, you understand it, and explain it, and you win, and that's knowledge.
That's right.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will,
Yeah,
Will you pull
Keller,
up
Cash,
your cities? There's a question that I have.
Oh, awesome.
The city, please, yes.
Jill said.
It gets to be around five, right?
Love you, baby. Are you?
We got some errands to run.
Yes, I don't think it'll be-
Things that you can, they're auctioning, and so you like collect
Just what,
these and
TV?
things.
Oh, I didn't get my, get my.
And you can use
Oh, we gotta get into counterfeit business.
whatever they have. Okay.
Oh, I got your money.
Jill said there's gonna be,
So, you have Louisville
a
and
team
the,
meeting
okay,
with
there you go.
Cash earned up
So
for
Louisville and the
offset.
Colony
Okay, that's nice.
I got Jill though.
and, Little Elm.
okay,
We work in those areas a lot, and
Yes.
the issue that I have.
thank you for being a new agent, coming here and doing this and taking this on.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
trying to learn just as much as I
You-
can. I'm usually a really good student.
You're-
Sorry I asked one question.
No, great questions. I just wanted to tell you, thank you for getting that and wanting to know. It's important.
Come every month.
Yeah,
So I
just
got my
keep
license in
sticking,
August, yeah.
keep sticking with it.
Like literally, I just have been to everything I possibly can.
Yeah,
That's
just
great.
keep-
That's good.
Yeah, you're great, thank you. All right, so, yeah, sorry, Louisville.
Okay, so we work in this area a lot. In the Colony,
Okay,
you have Louisville ISD, which is why I think we probably have included the Colony in Louisville ISD.
yes,
But the issue is the highest priced homes in the Colony are in Little Elm ISD.
okay.
So I'm struggling sometimes.
Which one to use?
Because if I use Little
So the
Elm.
reason we did both cities and ISDs is because one may be more relevant to.
Can I
a
pull ISDs?
Yeah.
That solves my whole problem, never mind.
Yeah, so
Okay, that was my second question.
Yeah, we also have a report, this is just the cities, but we do have a monthly report that's just ISDs.
Yeah.
So
Counties, schools and cities.
Yes.
I've only used the counties and the cities, I haven't used the schools, so shame on me, thank you.
It's the exact
That's all.
same thing, it's just, in the ISDs is easier because it's just that ISD.
It's just that
There's a
ISD.
couple that are combined ISDs
Yeah.
because they're, more rural areas and it makes more sense.
Well, and there's, in those northern suburbs, there's even more and more like Prosper and Frisco
Yeah.
and Little Elm. There's such a weird overlap
Yeah,
up there that,
that's good.
it's one city, one ISD, and
So you can use either one, whichever one makes the most sense based on that home and where it is. And like I said, there may be more relevance to one or the other with school district versus city.
Jessica, are you seeing more builders putting their stuff in MLS now?
Yes,
Yeah, especially within the last year, but especially the last 6 months,
yes,
which I think is why we're seeing those spikes in those numbers
yes.
in the 300 and 400,000 range.
I think so.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you. This was great.
Good. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it and you stayed awake the whole time.
No, well, I'm a numbers girl,
Oh, all right.
so
I could tell you were asking numbers girl questions.
I come to sit in the front row of
You were-
Albert.
You-
I'm new.
Good. You are?
Yeah, I'm new.
You got it. You
My
can do it.
husband's been in business, but I'll be first.
Yeah, you're doing great.
I'll get first.
Thank you, thank you.
Jeromy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Tell me, give me your thoughts too, as you go down here, and you guys might have stuff to do, but just like that kind of affordability thing.
I thought it was great.
Okay.
I'm like processing how to use it.
$50.
Okay.
Is it?
Line
Well, I don't know, did you give one to Paul?
I have one left for me, so I assume.
No, oh, yeah, then you must have given one to him. You must have given it to him.
Okay, you send it to me, I can use it in my background for my video. You don't have to do it like right now, but
Yeah, let's see, I've got my computer, so I can set it up and do that.
so I was just taking pictures of it so we can talk about it, and then when I edit my video, I can put it as the background.
Yeah, so I do need to get the updated version to Angie.
Okay. Of the quarterly? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's different. Once the supply was off.
I agree 100%.
Hi, Angie, how are you?
Good, so I wanted to say hi. I don't know if I saw you the last time you were here.
I don't know.
Okay.
Give you a hug, thank you. It's so good to see you.
Good to
Thank
see
you for
you.
all your help.
Oh my gosh, I hope it went well and we had a good turnout and I saw people.
We work with a lot of MCAs across a lot of different markets. And they do that too.
Oh, well, thank
Like
you.
seriously, you just really, you get it, it's helpful, and you just,
Well, thank you
you
so
do it,
much.
you move on and.
I'm glad somebody else is finally telling her.
No, I mean, it's like, again, I was a team leader, I've had a few, I've been in different market centers, personally worked with them, and then worked with y'all, and then just now, just from what I do,
Chartmaster.
you're just great to work with.
And I know a lot
Yeah,
of.
it's nice when I send something out, that somebody says, got it, send it out, that's all. I just wanna make sure you got it.
Yeah, no,
Because
yeah.
I can't tell you, like, there's places in Atlanta where we load all this stuff on the Dropbox, do that, I send in the email, have all the stuff, and then I get a call from an agent, hey, have the reports come out yet? I haven't seen it anywhere.
It's always true.
No, I even get an email that says from Jeromy, like I send it to the agents.
Yeah, and that's fine, so you're becoming really good.
And then I just forwarded you the other
Okay, perfect.
seller thing that needs to be.
Okay, good, I will get
And
it.
I'm gonna send you, the updated version
Okay,
of the quarterly report that I
okay.
just shared.
okay,
If you could just replace that,
okay, I can do
it's
that.
not too hard.
No, no,
The one that was in there.
Okay, yeah, I'll just swap it out. I'll remove the old one and put that one in.
And then that seller, not interactive, the seller chart that I just sent you, he sends it every quarter.
Every quarter, okay.
The
so we'll
listing
separate
presentation
it out.
toolkit.
I
We'll
think
separate
it
that
should
out.
be separated out so that it doesn't get
What do we
messy.
wanna call it? Like just
Toolkit.
toolkit, like Chartmaster toolkit or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I just
Just
call
so
it.
that the agents know while they're looking at it.
I sent you like 4 emails in a row, so just make sure you look at the last one.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Right.
I mean,
Well, I
I'm in
think
that
that,
too.
well, and I think that.
I'm gonna stop sharing the out Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do it.
She kicked you out of your
She kicked us out.
office, so, you know.
And it's still on Zoom for everybody to hear that.